Let's call the meeting to order. It's 8 o'clock. Morning, Cindy.
Morning.
Morning.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining.
Mr. Adam Downs,
Present.
Mr. Walker,
Here.
Mr. Becker, Mr. Jeff Downs,
Here.
Ms. Goodman, Ms. Kaminsky, here, Mr. Picardi.
Here.
Barry, do we have guests
We
waiting?
have actually quite a crowd out there right now. Stephanie Ward, Mead and Hunt, and then about 4 people, I believe, all from Enterprise.
Wonderful. Great to hear. Well, since we have guests from Enterprise and we have some members that need to leave early, can we amend the agenda to address new business first, specifically Section 11C, approval of agreements with Enterprise. Can the folks from Enterprise hear us and see us?
They were all muted.
Yes, we can.
Yep, I can too.
Yep.
Great. Who's all here from Enterprise, just so we know?
I'm Alex, so I'm the controller for the western side of Michigan.
Great, thank you.
I'm Carly-Ann. I handle everything with our properties and facilities for Enterprise.
Okay.
And Weston Straits, Regional Rental Manager with Enterprise.
Okay. Is Roger with us or not?
He is trying to sign on right now. He's just having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Okay. Well, why don't we just wait for him?
I think we should finish modifying the agenda and approving it.
Okay, great,
Great.
Gary, thanks for helping keep us on track there. So is there we want a motion to amend the agenda to address new business first?
So all new business or just 11C?
I'd like to do all new business and in the order of C and then B and then A. So we're going to reverse the order of new business, making C number 1, B number 2, and A number 3.
So moved.
I'll second. Roger, assuming that's just trying to call in.
Can I get a vote on that?
Oh,
All in favor?
yes.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay. Is Roger with us?
Someone just dialed in by phone, so I'm assuming that's who that is.
Hey, good morning, Roger. Are you here as well?
He is muted.
Are you there? Can you hear us, Roger? Is he online, or I can't hear him? I don't know if he can hear me.
Whoever it was muted and they just dropped off.
Okay.
It was just a phone number, so all I know is the 616 number.
Can,
That was his number.
Can
I'm
we
going to try to see if he can join on again. I don't know if he was having some service issues or not.
could we just patch him in from our cell phone?
Yeah, we've done that before.
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
What was the number, Barry?
I only saw the first 3 and last couple, so.
Carly-Ann or Alex, do you want to give me his number and I'll patch him in by way of my cell phone?
Yeah, of course. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
616
Yes?
551
Yes?
6730.
Roger Stewart, third.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Can you
We
hear
hear
me
you now. Yes, sir.
All right, there we go. I figured out how to get it unmuted. My apologies.
Well, good morning, Roger. I think everyone here at the Manistee Blacker Airport Authority Board, we have assembled, and so our board members are here, and Barry Lind, our airport director, is here. Thank you for assembling your team with Alex, Carly Ann, and Weston, and yourself. And I'll tell you, since the chairman of the Manistee County Board, Jeff Dance, and myself met with you several weeks ago, we sure appreciate, number one, Enterprise's interest and commitment in being here in the Manistee market. I think the reputation that your brand has in the marketplace and the marketing engine that you have will complement the work that Contour is doing to really increase ridership here in Manistee. So we are deeply appreciative as a board and as a community that Enterprise has identified Manistee as a place that they would like to do business. Additionally, I think Barry and your council have made real strong progress in the last couple of weeks on documenting lease agreements and working through the necessary legal issues to have you here. So as we talked about from our initial meeting, it was important to the airport authority to really get up and running as quick as possible, and I think all parties are working hard to that end, and we set a target date for that of June 1st. Just to capitalize on the peak summer season, I think we've indicated that. Barry, am I correct to say that June 14th is a date by which Contour will be going to 3 flights a day?
No. 2 every day, as opposed to 2 most days.
Oh, okay, two every day. So we'll be increasing the number of flights from where we are now, and we really want to be in a position to have a great rental car service such as Enterprise available. I really want to make sure, I know things are working on the fly here, but I want to make sure that we locally are doing everything we can to support Enterprise and make sure there's no stone we leave unturned to help you hit a June 1st start date. If that's not possible, I'm curious to know when is and what we can do to help you achieve it. So with that introduction, I'll be a good listener and see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for everybody jumping on this morning. I appreciate it. I think overall we're still working towards that. From a hiring perspective, we've just started down that path to start to bring some folks onto the team to service that market. We're working through some contractual stuff. Paul and Carly and Alex have been kind of working through. So obviously, that getting finalized and us actually having an agreement to be on site is necessary to be able to start ordering and building a business, quite frankly, right? So working on some of that stuff side by side with it to try to meet a faster initiation date. I think really what we were trying to figure out is very similar when we spent some time together is where are we going to operate and what will that look like? We talked about some short-term things of having certain, transportation needs to be able to be filled from the Cadillac for some advanced reservations in the short term. Obviously, that's an hour away, so, advanced communication on needs of transportation would be important for us to be able to provide that service. But there are some things that we have to have in place to be able to put an employee somewhere, both from a technology standpoint and from a physical location standpoint to represent our brand the right way. So I think at this stage, what do I think will slow us down? How quickly we can have our brand in your airport operating, right? And what that space could, what or will look like. Obviously, we have smaller locations, so some limited space to work with. So we were talking about some counter space and those types of things to be able to represent our brand the right way as we do in airports. we do need some help from you all to carve out that appropriate space that would help us operate.
So with respect to documentation, I think Barry is, Paul's the attorney, and I think Barry and Paul have traded drafts, and we do have a draft agreement in our board packet to vote on here to approve a contractual obligation. Is that correct, Barry?
That's my understanding, yes.
Oh.
The only thing that is lacking in that document is basically the start date and then the contract length.
Oh, okay. So all the legalese is addressed, and we just need to insert a start date and the term of the agreement, when it starts and when it concludes.
Okay.
So
When would we be either being able to construct or do the things we need to do from a space standpoint?
well, we could insert today's date in there if you like, and you could start tomorrow.
I think there's some confusion on what space we're gonna use. I saw some emails flying back and forth with some like valet stands and things like that. That's something, Adam, we're not gonna be able to open a business with that necessarily at an airport.
Well, I think we've identified the location from our first meeting when you and Weston were here.
Yeah.
Up front, right? We want to go up front next to the contour location.
Yeah.
So intuitively, when the customer walks in, it's right there visible. We don't need directional signage. We have electricity there. We have ample square footage there. I think we've all come to an agreement that the physical space is enough. And really, I think what it comes down to is, you know, we have a counter that has a cultured stone front facade that was constructed when this facility was constructed. And, you know, can we go out for, do we have to, maybe let me put it to you this way. Can you provide us a specification that you deem appropriate, or can you build out the space to your own spec? I mean, we've identified the location, but what hasn't been communicated to us is how you want it to look. The only thing we know is that we proposed a stand, a podium stand on which Enterprise could affix their sign, and we also have wall space for an illuminated sign with power available for it. I don't know that that works for Carly Ann, but we don't know what you are looking for. So to put it in the positive, tell us what you need.
Carly, can you just speak to what we need to get accomplished here? I mean, obviously, the stone facade, Adam's not the biggest thing. A lot of our airports, there's some trade dress things or aesthetics that are important to the airport that we can accommodate for. We just need a dedicated counter, not very different than what you see from Contour space, if that makes sense. I think the issue might be, you know, that small, at that end space, if I'm not mistaken, there's only like 2 feet of counter or something like that before there's that walkway. I don't know what we're hung up on from a design standpoint, Carly.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially we're fine with doing something that matches what you guys have at Contour. It's more so that the valet stands are just significantly too small, and also, you know, that's not something we could do a ton of work with as far as like brand imagery. Now, yes, we can definitely put a sign, an illuminated sign. And I appreciate you looking into that to see that there's power on the back wall. We've already sent that over to our rendering team to kind of put together what signage would look like there. So that's definitely helpful. But having an actual counter is the main thing we are needing, not just a stand.
Okay, but what are if I was to call a builder, or if you were to call a builder and say, build me a counter, my laptop here is 20 inches wide. How wide do you need your counter to be? I think
Carly,
when
is our
we were
standard counter
talking,
4 feet?
Yeah, that's usually standard.
So, yeah, like a single space counter for us, Adam, would be 4 feet.
Good. So if we have 2 shelves and we give you 6 linear feet, 3 feet on the top shelf and 3 feet on the shelf below, can that work?
So the width of it,
I guess,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think I'm struggling to understand without some
Well,
pictures or something.
we don't have a 4-foot wide space. We have 45 inches, which is,
Well, no, we've got 6 feet total, but for ADA access reasons, 36 inches of that needs to be open. So we've got 36 available for putting some sort of
okay.
acceptable solution for that.
So 36 inches is 3 feet, right? And when I said 6 linear feet, if you have 3 feet on a top shelf and we give you a lower shelf, to the extent you have tablets, iPads, telephone, computer, safe, whatever you have, we could even have 3 shelves, give you 9 linear feet, right? 3 feet on the top shelf, 3 feet on the second shelf, 3 feet on the third shelf.
Yeah, I think we'd have to see some pictures or some examples so we could understand how much space it is. There's some security stuff we would need, and then obviously some technology stuff that's like a bare minimum to be able to run the business with one person there, right? And our goal in the future would be able to have more than one person there, hopefully. Obviously, if the business continues to thrive and have success, so yeah, getting open as quickly as possible is important, but also doing it appropriately so we can best service the customer as well, and our employees. So that back space, like behind the contour counter, how would we access that area? Or does that opening have to stay in place there that's at frontage?
I think that's Barry's point, and we needed a walkway through there, so it's.
Otherwise you can't access.
Otherwise you can't access it.
That's the only access.
There's a door
Is there
behind
some
it that's
space next
secured.
to contour? Do they need all 20-some feet of their counter space?
It's currently.
Or is there another walkway? Like, does Contour have a secondary walkway that we could maybe close one of them off, to be able to utilize a little bit more space?
No, that's.
No? Okay.
I'm not saying like a 3-foot counter is a deal breaker one way or the other. I think it's how it's configured and how we can set it up, Adam. 4 foot's like our standard local office. Every enterprise on the planet has 4-foot segments, whether it's a 16-foot counter or a 4-foot counter. So it's just standard for us. Obviously, our airport operations have some different iterations that we can work out. But if we only had that little island there on the end closest to the wall without any modifications, to be frank, I'm a little concerned about how that works beyond, the first couple of weeks of traffic.
Well, I think we've had 2 on-site visits, one with you in Weston and second with Carly Ann. And when we walked through the airport, we said we could put you back where people leave the secured area, close to the tarmac. There's 4 linear feet over there. We decided it was preferable to be
Where the coffee stand was?
Exactly. And we
yeah,
thought it was
I would
more.
just be mostly concerned about local customers.
I agree.
Imagine somebody who just lives in the area or comes from Ludington to come pick up a car, and they walk in and they're like, they're not going to walk backwards necessarily. Obviously, we could work on wayfinding, but
Well, I agree, and
if
so
that's a more
why
ideal place for us to be, we could consider that.
I don't think it is, and nor when we took our walking tour of the facility, no one thought it was. We thought it was most intuitive and did not need wayfinding if Enterprise was right at the front door, so that upon entry to the building, you were present, invisible.
Yeah.
And so really, the discussion is, I think coming down to twofold, is can you make an accommodation of 12 inches? Or can we talk to Contour and see if, there could be a amendment to their lease to allow you to share their counter space? I think they have security concerns. that we've addressed, just like you have security concerns. So, you know, we had one on-site visit with Carly Ann here, some time ago, and we're just, I think just now, or as a quarter after 4 yesterday, learning of this. So we want to work through it with you, and we want you here. We just want to find a solution.
Yeah, let me cut to the
Oh.
chase. So the object here is to try to consummate this deal to where you guys are gonna be here. If there, with what we currently have, let's all agree we're going to solve whatever issue there is, but we're very concerned about trying to get a start date. As opposed to,
Yeah,
let's get a contractor, let's build the space out to accommodate what our current standards are, as opposed to getting here and going through that process. I think that's, when it's all said and done, that's all we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to clarify, you know, to be transparent, I think I've approached this with you, Adam, with full transparency, to say that we're going to work really hard towards a June 1st start date, but under no circumstances was I willing or able to guarantee that, right? Irregardless of the other conversations with the other vendor or otherwise, because of some of the nuance of getting this business open, right? I don't think in any point with anybody on the call for my team, we're not still working towards that diligently. There are some things that we need to hammer out that were left a little vague from our site visits. So Carly needed to go see the space, see if it would work for us. There's been some back and forth, right? Obviously via email or otherwise, hence the reason we're on this call together. There were some proposals from your side about a valet stand that would not work for us. That wasn't part of a conversation that we had when we met the first time, right? So I just want to make sure you guys understand we're working really hard towards this on our side as well. We wouldn't be going through this contract process if we weren't taking, you know, the timeline and all of this very seriously. This is much faster than we typically go with these types of things, and we're trying to meet, you know, the expectations of you guys giving us this opportunity. So we are working with you on it.
So what's the next step to get an agreeable counter space?
If I could have, Barry, if you can send Carly and I some pictures from the back side of that space, if you will, so we can see what we could accommodate within that area and how much space would be ours, if you will. Like if that's a space where there's a lot of traffic back and forth from the airlines with baggage or whatever, maybe that's not the right space for us to be, even though it's the best for the customers. Obviously, we spent an hour or so together on site. I don't know that we saw any flights take off or anything like that necessarily, so I don't understand the flow of that. And then we just need to get some signage stuff to you guys, I suppose, right, Carly? Is there anything else I'm missing?
No, I think those things would definitely help, especially seeing, you know, things from the backside of the counter and just like knowing how heavily trafficked it is. Are they still using that, the like luggage thing? I think it's right behind that counter. Is that still an active one that they're using?
No, that is not.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
So I'm not sure exactly. We're working as fast as we can on our side, Adam.
Well, I have a suggestion for your consideration. I think we have an action item on our agenda, and that's to approve a lease. My proposal would be to put in May 15th of 2025 and run it through September 30, which is the end of our fiscal year next year. I think we said we were going to do a one-year trial period. My suggestion for May 15th is that allows some time to get in and do any construction. If you miss the June 1st mark and it turns in to be June 7th or a week or two after, that's okay. I would recommend that our board approves a start date of May 15, and then we can put it on your desk. And if you and your team want to change May 15, you're welcome to send that back to us. But at least you know that you have approval from this group to to do what you need to do here.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't, at least to my knowledge, we're working through this actively, business as usual, same as we would either way. I think the hang up where I wanted to clarify with you guys was there are some, you know, the valet stand, and I know you guys are trying to move this thing along as quickly as possible, but that's just not something I could agree to for us to open under those circumstances. There are transportation opportunities where we can get a reservation thing with some advance notice that we'd be able to facilitate out of our Cadillac office if need be in the short term. That would hinder some last minute reservations, no question, because of the drive time, but for people who'd be willing and able to book in advance, we could arrange to have vehicles out there until we're fully operational at the airport. Obviously, as we have a tentative start date. If that would give you guys any comfort or relief from that.
Do you see any reason why a May 15th date would not be good to have the group insert?
I'm not sure. I'd have to get on a call with Alex and Paul probably and take a look at what that looks like from his seat. I wouldn't be able to commit to that right now.
Okay. Well, I guess this side can approve whatever date they like, and you can offer it as a contract amendment, or a you know, not even an amendment, because it's not signed, right? You would just offer it as a modification in your comments.
Yes.
Exactly. Or the motion could be for the chair to sign the agreement with a mutually agreeable date of the parties. Okay. Well, Alex and Carly Ann and Weston and Roger, thank you. Are there any other questions from our board?
I don't have any.
Adam or Barry, I have one quick question for you. Do you happen to have, I know these counters have probably been there for a while, but do you happen to have the original contractors or any information you could share with me? Because that would probably help us, or at least I could maybe get into contact with somebody so I can help with that process and help try and get that, you know, moved along.
I can try to find that. That was 2006 and 2007, which was actually before my time here, but
Okay.
I'll see what I can dig up.
Okay. I just figured I'd ask, because if not, like, I don't mind reaching out to them to, you know, get some information that would probably be helpful, so.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and I think that's one of the concerns that those of us here that are all local, trying to find contractors to do things and trying to make things match up, that generally tends to take some time. We're not exactly contractor rich. So that's kind of the concern why you're hearing it coming from us is, if we've got to do some modifications, it may take a bit.
Well, you don't need cultured stone on the front of it, right? I mean, in theory, you need a permanent box, literally a box, in drywall painted with power to plug in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your objection was the dimensions of the podium and the fact that it was mobile. Is that?
Yeah, it's unsecured. Obviously, there's a branding and a trade dress responsibility that we have to be thoughtful. We'd be operating both national car rental and enterprise, obviously. So both of those two brands would be represented at the airport. Yeah. So we'll keep working through it, guys. I know this start date's it's a tough press, and we talked about that from the first time that we met. We're going to do everything we can to expedite every piece and part of this as we have so far. And we'll obviously keep communicating a lot as we continue along.
I guess I do have one follow-up question, and that is, the sense I'm getting is that it is more important for Enterprise to have everything to your standard before you open, as opposed to...
I would just say within reason, Barry. Within reason.
Okay.
Like,
So-
just to give you a high-level example, I'm not gonna hire an employee and then put them in front of a valet stand and while I'm teaching and developing them, if that makes sense, right? We have a lot of care for the folks that are on our team, with really high expectations for how they treat our customers. So we need to have a conducive workspace that represents that as well, right? So I'm not opposed to temporary means and short-term solutions, but the uniqueness of this operation is it's not close by. We're going to be hiring an employee who's never worked for our company before to represent our company. We're obviously going to have to spend a lot of time and energy and resources to train that person to be in this remote market. The last thing I want to do is put them in, a makeshift version of a business where all their tools and resources aren't easily accessible to them. We're already stretching ourselves a little thin here because there's no way to clean cars on site. We generally don't open operations where there's no on-site cleaning facilities. Knowing that this is something that we're trying to get done, and some of the stuff like we talked about, we're going to have to figure out the long-term version of this in the future. But there are some accommodations that need to be considered before we would put an employee there and do that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Well, I've also already asked Contour if they'd be willing to share counter space. So we're working on that option for you as well.
Yeah, just keep me in the loop. You guys obviously have my number, so give me a call if anything pops up that we need to consider. I think Alex and Paul will keep working through the contract stuff. If there's anything we need to get tidied up there. Again, the full power and resources of our team are working on it here locally.
That's recognized and appreciated. Thank you.
Anything else we can answer for you all?
I think
that's
that's
all.
it. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great weekend.
Okay, so should we, Barry, do you want to speak just for a moment on the contract that you've worked with Paul at Enterprise?
So the two documents that were sent out yesterday, one is basically verbatim the agreement we had with Enterprise back in 2011. It deviates from our standard a little bit, but it's the same language that they had us add last time. So other than dates, pretty much that the document is fairly identical to what was entered into Enterprise last time. The lease for space, that's basically our standard lease document with everything that isn't relevant stripped out. Still ends up being longer than it should be. The rate on that is the board approved lease rate that TSA, Contour, Orchard Beach, everyone else that leases here pays on a square foot basis. It is structured as 30 square feet, which is basically that 3-foot width going back to the back wall. It's basically a 3x10 box that space allows, as it's currently envisioned. So those are where those documents originate from.
One point for consideration of the group. Could we modify the document such that it would read,
I was just gonna say, I think that the board should give you and Barry negotiating power so that you can figure it out and we don't have to go another month before we sign the contract.
Well, we have a meeting in 10 days, but.
Thank you. But I still think it would be productive to, unless somebody else wants to be involved, but I think you and Barry can carry the football on this to sign it. Is that allowed?
Yeah, you can empower the chair to sign it once the document is there.
It sounds like there's still some back and forth, just from a facility perspective, so.
The only thing I was going to suggest that we do is amend it, such that their payment, they wouldn't pay for the facility until June 1st, but we could give them access to the extent, and I don't know that they want to come in and start doing anything, but we could say, as of May 15th, you're allowed in to start building your counter and working, but we're not gonna start the clock on charging you rent until June 1st. So we're making the space available to them.
Well, I don't know if you wanna charge anything until they're actually here. We're hoping they're here by June 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even better.
And quite frankly, that isn't really that significant, because their monthly rent for 30 square feet is $84.
Just
It's not gonna be a deal
Handful of
breaker.
dollars.
a token of our appreciation. They can come in effective May 15th, and we'll start charging rent, when operational.
Well, let me ask this, I just went out to take a quick look at that. Does Contour need both 3-foot sections? For the long term, I mean, can we modify it for the short term until we get that counter, so where we give them that space to one side, either side? If they're agreeable to it?
If they're agreeable, yes. I have concerns, because we're gonna have a lot of 30-feet sold-out flights this summer, and you've got one computer that's checking people in. 30 people will there'll be a good line there for people checking in. They will use both. Will they be, there are things that are incentivizing them to make this successful too.
Absolutely.
So they may, make that trade-off, but it's not like that space would not be used by them. But I don't know how amenable they'll be to foregoing it, either temporarily or long-term.
Take out the table stuff and put something there in the window?
Yes, I mean, there are other options, so.
Yeah.
Well, you also say you don't want anything temporary, correct?
So it would have to be built out.
I mean,
But from what it sounds like, to build a 4-foot box with an electrical outlet, and I don't wanna mean that, but it sounds like that's all he's looking for. It would be, to your point, I agree, Jeff, but.
I can do it, but I'm not allowed to do it.
Right.
That's the issue you get into. You gotta be the certified contractor, blah, blah, blah.
maybe we can find a contractor.
Yeah.
Okay. One point that Barry's raised is, who's gonna pay for the stand, right? Is that a fair point, Barry?
It's a question, and everything I've heard so far is Enterprise is expecting us to provide finished space for them to move in.
Yeah.
It's our facility,
Especially if we're leasing it to them, so.
Can we include that in the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this isn't budgeted, so, is it? Great. All right, so, this would be a hit to our cash at the end of the year? Yeah, okay.
Unless there's some line item we could
Pull
get
from,
out, but,
all right.
not knowing what it's gonna cost yet, I think you might
We will
want.
make the finances happen.
$5,000, can we include $5,000 in our,
Not to exceed. It
yeah, not to
shouldn't be
exceed?
that much, but.
Well, I just, who knows where this is gonna go, and
Road leaking on it?
for, hey, you know, I don't know, but for 10 years, we've been trying to get Enterprise back, so, I'm really trying to put our best foot forward here. So, is there a motion to approve up to $5,000 to construct counter space, allowing Enterprise to be in on May 15th, and we will start charging them a fee when, they're operational?
I think we'll just do the up to $5,000 for construction and, remodeling for additional counter space. And then the other stuff should be divided too.
Two motions, you want?
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
put it
probably.
All right,
Yeah.
Let's do
All
the
right.
construction one first.
let's start with
Make
that.
motion.
Thank you, Karen.
Second that.
Second by Cindy. All in favor?
No, we're
Roll
spending
call.
money.
Aye.
All in
I
favor?
was just helping the clerk.
Mr. Adamtout?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Downs?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky? Yes. Mr. Picardi?
Yes.
Second motion.
All the other stuff.
On the contract. They can come in as of May 15th, and, we'll start charging when operational. So we modify to include that. Barry, what
All the chairs
suggestions?
sign.
Yeah,
So
allow the
are
chair.
we referring to the documents that you have, or are we just saying that the chair is authorized to negotiate final agreements and execute them, with?
I think that's probably the appropriate.
Yeah,
motion.
yeah.
We're gonna allow, instead of putting all the details, we're just gonna allow you to get into the negotiations and then put the details together. And then sign it, but if you do it wrong, we'll all be on your ass.
Let the record reflect.
Well,
You
my
want that-
family's
you want that
trained me well for that. Okay,
Well, she comes from a family of wrestlers, so.
all right. So, clerk, are you clear on what the motion is?
Sure.
Are you? Because I'm not, so you can tell me.
So that the agreement will be effective May 15th, and any negotiations and may be completed by the chair and then allow the board chair to sign once finalized.
How about chair and airport director? Barry and I'll team up here.
Okay.
Do we need to put in there, that wasn't stated, that you just mentioned, was to not charge them till they're fully operational?
Thanks, Cindy.
Okay, and who's making the motion?
Karen,
Make that motion.
second by Cindy?
Yeah.
Mr. Adamtout?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Downs?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Mr. Picardi?
Yes.
Okay. Think we're all set there?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, big progress is on the way. Next, collaborative marketing investment. So, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the participants were Barry and myself and Andrew Stafford from the Economic Development arm of the Chamber, Sammy Lukaskevich from Tourism, and Brandon Jensen from Right Side. And the purpose of the meeting was, how can we increase ridership and do so collaboratively? I said, we've got a big investment around the community when you add up the time and monetary resources that are dedicated by all of these different economic development agencies. Are we all working together to the extent our missions overlap? And you know, we had a we had a good discussion, we learned some things, some concerns were, addressed. Those concerns were, you know, how do we retain people, in Manistee? We may lose people, they get off the plane and they go elsewhere, wherever else may be. So how do we keep them here in the county? Second issue was, there was, some concern expressed, you know, we had a rough, winter with respect to, on-time departures and the reputation that could be associated with that. And so, the meeting broke with those questions, unanswered. How do we keep people here, showcase our community, get them to stay and spend money here, increase ridership on the plane, and overcome, some perception issues? So, on my drive up from Illinois, I started to think about that, and an idea that I came up with was a gift card. When the plane touches down in Manistee, the flight attendant gives the local time and temperature and says, for this conversation, we'll say the community, and Contour has offered we can write the script. But the community is pleased you're here, and the passenger in seat 7A gets a $100 gift card to spend in Manistee. And the Chamber of Commerce has an existing program, Manistee County Cash. And so I thought that that would create a real clamor on the plane. When's the last time you touched down somewhere and the community said, we're glad you came, here's $100 to spend in our community. And although it's only given to one passenger, it's announced over the mic. I think everybody on the plane recognizes that. I thought that at the $100 level, that would entice people maybe to change plans. Hey, we're going to Traverse City, we're going to Leelanau, we're going to Crystal Lake, we're going to Ludington, Pentwater, but let's stop in Manistee and go down in the Central Business District and have lunch first. We'll spend our cash before we leave town instead of just leaving. So I pitched the idea to Contour, 5 stakeholders, as I said earlier: Contour, Airport, Economic Development, Chamber of Commerce, DDA. We've got, I think Barry and I counted 241 flights between June 1st and September 30. At $100 a pop, that's $24,100. I've talked to Carmen over at the Chamber, and currently their Manistee County Cash, I think, is on a paper form or a voucher. I suggested to Carmen that we get an actual, like, Visa card, okay? And the thought is 2 images on it. One image could be the Sleigh Bell Parade. There's a great aerial photo where the street is packed and the Clydesdales are pulling the tree down River Street, and it's back when we had 10,000 people come. It's jam-packed. And so the thought is passengers are coming in the summer, they may not know what's going on in the winter. We'll visually show them come back in the winter. The flip side of the card can be the pier and the sunset and, you know, everything that Manistee's known for in the summer. And so she's worked with the vendor to actually get a card and the artwork on that. If we take the cost of $24,100 plus the cost of getting the cards, I think they're $1.30 a piece, we're right under $25,000. So since the idea was formed, I've worked with the Chamber, Economic Development, and Contour, and all of those parties have agreed to a commitment not to exceed $5,000. Everybody will chip in up to $5,000. At the end of the day, I don't think all the cards will be redeemed, okay? Some people are just gonna leave, some people are gonna forget. We'll put an expiration date on them, so they have to be spent this year, which is a quick cash infusion. We want them to get in, use the money, and spend it. So if you say, everybody uses the card, it's a $5,000 spend. If you say 75% of the people use the card, because we'll only be out, if the card is used. Additionally, if we give them a $100 card and they go to wherever they go and the bill is $75, we're only charged for 75, not the full 100. So, assuming $5,000 at 75%, I think is $37.50, and I really think there's a lot of multifaceted benefit. It's a great opportunity to work on reputation, welcome people to town. Our people that are flying this plane and have a good experience, I think, are our best salesmen to go out and tell their friends, come to Manistee. It's running the promotion all summer long. It's a great collaborative effort with the other stakeholders, and really, the airport is contributing 1/5. 4/5 or 80% of the initiative is coming from, Chamber, DDA, economic development, and Contour. Within 6 minutes, Ben Munson at Contour said, great, we're in, wonderful opportunity. It was the shortest conversation I had with anybody to get them to pitch in for it. So, that is the collaborative marketing investment for your consideration, but, I will.
So you're asking for us to authorize $5,000?
Up to $5,000. Yep.
We do have, how many dollars do we have allocated for advertising?
This has to be
This would be in addition.
Okay.
our advertising.
This would be in addition.
So it's a debit card, obviously? It's not.
The Manistee County cash.
It's a Manistee County cash.
It'd be run through the chamber.
That's fine. No, I'm just trying to, so so then I guess they probably need to know what places utilize Manistee
There'll be a
County.
QR code
Okay.
on it where they'll scan it and everybody.
No,
Now, Barry made a great point, yesterday, and I've reached out to Contour. Barry's, recommendation is that we work to get the email addresses of everybody so we can follow up and market, and maybe post on our website who the winners were. I've asked Contour if they would share that information with us, their customers' emails. I haven't heard back yet. They may, if somebody buys through a third-party, Priceline, Expedia, et cetera, they don't get that email, so it may not be comprehensive. If they won't share them with us, I think the follow-up request is, just like when you go on the plane and you, get a presentation to sign up for a credit card, you go on American and, hey, here's the American credit card, have them fill out a form with the email, we can enter that in. But Barry's thought is, for the investment, we wanna be able to keep talking to these people with, future marketing. And so, I think that was a good addition there. As a result of that conversation, I thought, hey, when we kick this off, in the plane lands, we should have TV 9 and 10 and 7 and 4 and get some news coverage down here. Really turn it into a marketing extravaganza and get the biggest bang for our buck. What am I missing, Barry?
I think it's a great idea. The other things I think about it are, I know you said there's a QR code, but it's like, this plane only comes to Manistee, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's different planes. They're not using, I think, the same plane.
So there's at least a couple or two or three.
No, a lot. I think there's probably.
They have 26.
Okay.
They're
So
rotating
we
through.
don't know which ones are going.
No.
Because, always in the seat, back, pocket and stuff, it'd be great if the chamber would put our books and stuff in there,
Oh, right.
so that people could see.
We should put our books in regardless where the plane's going.
Yeah, if they could do that, that'd be great.
Sammy buys a lot of books.
She'd be happy to get rid of some of them. I've seen the boxes.
Let's put them in those lanes so
Yeah.
people can look at those too. The other thing is that when people come here, how do I get to where I'm supposed to go? You know, even if there was a directional at the end of our driveway saying, you know, downtown Manistee, that way, or, you know, just
Yeah.
something. Because I'm gonna jump in a car, I know everybody has, GPS and all that stuff, but it's sometimes a sign or something that just catches a person's eye, helps them to get some direction. Plus also, it's not all young people. We have a lot of retiree type people that are coming in, checking out the place, so. And I sent you some sort of voice message, I don't even know what the hell it was, but you got it. I hit the wrong button.
I think those are all worthy points, to have some wayfinding at the end of the road, one of the blue signs with Michigan, almost like a Michigan Welcome Center. I think we've got the, tourism booklet somewhere in the waiting area, or they've got the kiosk, yeah. So, I like that, and I think, you know, with this gift card, so that we can convince ourselves it's marketing dollars, it needs to come with one of the packets and say, here's how you use it, and a welcome message too. So, we can still have the plastic gift card, but I think there needs to be some packet, yeah. So I would move that we increase the marketing budget by $5,000 to support the collaborative marketing effort.
I'll support that.
Guess we need a roll call, we're gonna spend some money.
Mr. Adam Dot?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Dance?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Mr. Picardi?
Yes.
Well, you know, I think this is real exciting. From conception to implementation will be a month. And you've got every economic development organization on the eve of approving that. I go make a pitch, I guess on Wednesday, I'll have to take another day off work and stay in Manistee and, pitch that to the DDA, so.
8:30.
I just had a quick thought here. So you said that there was gonna have an expiration date on there. Why would we do that? Because they may not use it all, and they'll say, you know what, next time let's go back to Manistee.
Well,
I hear you. I
Or-
think it's good to have a little bit of urgency, and the idea here is that we're gonna get people, it's like right now. So the county cash program, we're gonna be able to track where this thing is spent, because they all have redeem it by a code. So I think that we're gonna be able to track where this money is spent, and then we'll be able to go back with some good data to show the other
You're in favor of
organizations.
the expiration date,
Yeah.
okay.
I think a couple of things,
I'm
Cindy.
just thinking if you're here, and you go downtown, your bill might be $50. You might say, you know what? Let's come back to here now, let's check out the sleigh bell parade, let's come back and,
Well, I was thinking we'd do the expiration the day after Christmas. Gets them through Sleigh Bell Parade, they can use it if they come back through Sleigh Bell Parade, but, what's in my mind was significant about the 26th is it gets them a second opportunity to come back. It gets them back, during the holiday, the Sleigh Bell, and, with fiscal years ending on December 31st, this gives you a little time for people to close out their books and still gives them 5 months to use the card, as opposed to carrying it and carrying a liability over on their book in the next year.
There may even be some savvy downtown business owners that accept it for like phone orders and online orders.
Hey, we got a new online business.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask one of them right now.
Lively.
Just keeps getting better and better.
So yeah, hopefully there's no reason for them not to use the gift card.
Use it or lose it.
And just logistically, if you have something that's open-ended like that, you don't then know what the financial commitment
Yeah,
is, it makes the accounting really ugly. You have to then carry it forward.
I was thinking
Well,
about
that's- yeah,
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
Cindy, if we do this and we put a deadline on it, and it's wildly successful, we could be back here doing this again in 4 or 5 months or a whole new idea. This, right? I mean, with all the stakeholders. Exciting times here. Any other thoughts? All right.
Great idea, Adam.
Well, you know, couldn't do it without everybody else. We're just 20% of the pie.
Thanks for getting.
But now we got 80% of the pie baked, so we'll see how tough the DDA is. Okay, approval of novation agreement with GSA in Manistee County. Barry, can you give us some insight there? Oof.
Share my screen.
All the ground we covered in an hour. Rental cars, marketing. Are you cold, Cindy?
Yeah, it's cold.
Well, hear that, Barry? I'm not the only one.
Okay. So there were two documents in your packets. One from George Saylor, basically explaining what a novation agreement is. I had no clue when I saw that term. I thought novation was just a software system that GSA used to generate documents. Talk to me like I knew that legalese term. So this goes back to, we have a lease, we are in the process of a new lease agreement between GSA, which is the General Services Administration of the federal government. They are the agency that deals with all facilities across most government agencies. They lease the space for TSA's use in our terminal. The original agreement with them was done in 2006, 2007. It predates me. Actually, it was negotiated and executed by Rose Pomeroy at that time. It was an agreement between the county and GSA, and not the airport authority and GSA. Since that time, it has been renewed every 5 years, but because of its age, approaching 20 years, they wanted to, this iteration, do a new agreement. In doing the research of the new agreement, they said, we need a copy of your deed for the building we're leasing, and the deed says the building is owned by the airport authority, which is not compatible with the fact that the agreement was with the county. While there's a relationship between those entities, they are also separate entities. The novation agreement here is basically kind of dealing with that separate legal entity issue and allowing the county to still be the lessor, and even though they don't technically own the building. That's the summary of it. George explains it much more correctly than I am here, summarizing it. So you have George's opinion on that, and then you also have the agreement itself.
Can you go back to George's letter?
Sure.
Barry, are there, would this require us to make any modifications to our insurance? No? Okay. I guess the reason why I ask is, you know, with the authority not being a party to the agreement being between the county and the federal government, I would see whatever liability would arise out of the agreement would be directed toward the county, not the authority. We're gonna swap out the county and put the authority in, so whatever liability would arise out of the agreement would be the authorities, not the counties. I don't know what the liability is, hence my question on insurance.
But if the agreement was directly with the authority, that same liability would be there.
Right, and so I am just asking if we're properly covered. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure we are. I mean, we've been operating as if this is all with the authority.
Right, but it
Yeah.
wasn't.
It wasn't, but, our liability insurances and all that stuff, we've been operating as if it's all our responsibility. So I assume, and we can check that, but I assume we're fully covered. Because we've been operating for all these years under that assumption.
Well, that's fine to assume, but when you get into the court of law, that can change.
That's what I'm saying, you have to check it.
Well, the D&O insurance is one example.
Mhm.
We operated forever without it. I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, so just have to check it.
I guess I'm not understanding these risks because we lease to Contour, talking about leasing to Enterprise. So this is just a lease of office space, so that it is no different than any of those other leases. I mean, are we concerned that we have exposure in all of our leases?
I think the question really comes from my newness to the board. And my question is no, more or less than, are we properly insured? That's as simple as the question is. And maybe, I'm not trying to stop this. I think we can move on and take our motions and adopt, but, I just went through issues with my insurance carrier where I thought I had coverages, you know, that were of a different magnitude. So that's all.
Follow up on
So did I hear right or not that the TSA wants to have the contract between the authority?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, actually, they don't.
Oh.
For whatever reason, they don't want to reprocess it with a new entity. They want to use the county, but using this agreement is kind of shifting it over to the authority, but yet the county, which is why the agreement needs to be executed by the county board, by the authority, and by GSA. Three-party agreement.
And that's what TSA wants. GSA wants.
I understand what. Misunderstanding.
They started it originally, probably incorrectly at that time, and it's easier for GSA to have us all execute this agreement than for them to start a new lease in their system, whatever paperwork that would entail.
Okay.
This is the path of leases on their side.
Yeah, I hate to throw any kind of wrinkles in anything.
Yeah, right.
Right now, you know, 'cause you never know what's gonna be processed, how it's gonna be processed, and how long it's gonna take, and.
So in very simple terms, this novation agreement tells GSA that the airport authority and the county are on the same page in that agreement with GSA.
Correct. That's a good summary.
Okay.
Well, since you understand it, is that
Yeah, I
a
know.
motion?
I move we adopt it.
I'll
or
support the,
make a resolution of support or whatever we need.
I'll support that Dylan understands.
Okay, motion by Walker, second by Dance. Should we call the roll here?
Mr. Adam Dance?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Dance?
yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
And Mr. Picardi?
Yes.
So I sent this to Lisa. I don't know if She has moved it forward on the county side, but it requires county approval as well.
We meet on, what is it, the 19th? 19th or 20th, something like that. I can do. 20th.
Okay. Moving along, is there anything else, on that, or are we all set, Barry?
I think that,
All right, wonderful.
well, actually, I guess, I'm not sure if the motion indicated who was authorized to sign, but.
It
no.
was in there.
It's in the agreement, right?
So do you need it amended to say who signs?
Yes.
Who would
Well,
sign? Barry?
I need to know whether it's me or Adam signing, so.
If it's the county, I'm at the sign as the county board chair as well, I don't know. If need be.
There you go.
So,
Who's signing?
Why don't you do, Barry as the director for this authority, and, well, the county's gonna tell who the county signs. I guess
Okay.
that'd be my uncle, but that's not our jurisdiction.
He had more than one.
Okay, you know, while we still have Jeff here for, limited time, why don't we go over to, transition committee and discuss the RFP that, Barry prepared for us? Can we do that, Barry?
Well, I wouldn't, yes, we can pull that up, but I wouldn't say I prepared it, I contributed information, 'cause
Yeah, I did a little editing.
I've been trying to be very clear that I cannot write an RFP that I am intending Orchard Beach to be responding to. That to me is a huge conflict of interest, so I'm contributing information.
Well, thank you for your contributions to that.
And
so, this setup,
that someone joined.
who's that?
The name says Barry Catholic and
Oh.
shoved off.
He may be a frequent flyer. Good morning, Barry. Thanks for joining. You joining us from Michigan or Illinois today?
I think he's muted.
Oh, that's all right. Okay, Barry, you wanna walk us through the RFP?
Well, again, at this stage, I wouldn't call it an RFP. This is really just kind of a list of expectations or, kind of requirements that we would, reflect kind of the activities that we're asking for a respondent to, provide in response to this RFP. So, boilerplates up top. Section A is really dealing with kind of the Part 139, airport inspection requirements. Number one really covers everything because our airport certification manual is our document that we work with the FAA on, that basically implements all the requirements, that's how we do them, of Part 139. So that kind of a catch-all statement there. Then number two really gets into kind of listing out some of the specifics. There's always things that when you put together a list that may not be included, which is why one is there, is kind of a catch-all. 3 is all about, all of the required, inspections that are under the ACM. 4 is about, all the training requirements that the ACM and Part 139 require. 5 is including ARF services as part of this, whereas a lot of airports, ARF is maybe done by others. This is making sure that that is detailed, that ARF is expected to be provided. Accident incident data, these are just kind of more standard airport things. NOTAMs, or the communication to the aviation community, airport emergency plan, and wildlife hazard management plan. B is really, so A is Part 139, here's what it is. B is expectations around maintaining the airfield facilities and equipment that the airport authority own. So starts with expectations of providing janitorial services to the terminal and all other buildings, maintaining all the pavements and lighting, mowing, vegetation management of the, airfield, doing snow removal, then getting into all basic maintenance for all of the above, terminal, hangars, equipment, facilities, and the fence is all part of that. So the expectations, following all the regulations of 139, you're maintaining this facility and everything that is on it. C then gets into the FBO part of this, listing out standard FBO services in 2 sections. One, a section of required services that we're expecting an FBO provider to provide. The key of those being fueling, and some details under fueling because it is an important piece.
You can go up just a little hair there. Okay, required service, fueling. Using fuel element. Conduct fuel operations using airport-owned fuel farm and fueling equipment. Maintain airport equipment. I think in the email that I sent to you, did I put in there, Barry, that we said that fuel would be provided using a fuel truck? I think that's what our group decided we wanted to make a requirement.
Okay, that wasn't in your red line.
You're right. It wasn't in my red line. But when we met and I emailed you and asked you to draft it,
Okay.
we said there was consensus among the
Okay.
board that we wanted to have the require in this proposal, the FBO, to provide fuel using a truck.
Okay, and
So-
since the airport is providing the equipment, then the airport would procure a truck for the FBO to operate and provide fuel for it.
I think, group, sometimes I recall things other than what was, so I'd like to just check in on my recollection here. But I think what we said was, we would like the FBO to provide fuel truck.
There's not enough revenue
I-
that
I-
gets generated to justify that cost,
You know, Barry,
in my opinion.
I think your opinion could really have merit. I do. But I
But you're
also-
gonna tell me I'm wrong.
No,
I know
I'm-
how you talk.
Actually, I'm not. I'm just gonna tell you what we talked about. And, I wanna call it up to see if my recollection is
I'm
correct.
assuming
Yeah.
this was talked about in the closed session, which is why I'm not privy to it.
Lindsay, would you read that, please? I hope,
The authority would like the, FBO RFPs to focus on 3 main areas, having the FBO provide fuel sales with a fuel truck.
so on April 11th, I emailed you and I said, Barry, the board did not see a conflict with you preparing the RFP. We'd like to move, the April 28th meeting and have it on, we'd like to move the April 28th meeting for review by April 24th. We'd like to, the chief priorities of the FBO as providing fuel sales and doing so with a fuel truck, number one. Number two, Part 139 compliance. Part three, a strategic plan for the FBO's growth over 3 years. That'd be the term of the contract. 4, the RFP should be limited to 3 pages, excluding any necessary legal disclosures and our strategic plan. Initial round of FPO responses should be limited to 3 pages. So we want a 3-page RFP, 3-page response. So I think the board did talk about, at least going out and making it a requirement now of the FBO to serve with a fuel truck. Now, maybe the market is gonna come back and tell us we don't sell enough gas to do it with a truck. And, that may be our lot in life when the dust settles.
Well, what you read there doesn't say that the FBO needs to purchase a fuel truck. The airport provides all of the fueling equipment, and that is the way it has been, so I interpreted that as being the airport views this as important and will acquire a fuel truck for the FBO to operate. And
Well,
again, I'm not writing this RFP, I'm providing in data for it. I'm not sure who is writing it at this point.
So do we just wanna add a bullet point, on A, conduct fueling operations using airport-owned fuel farm, fueling equipment, including a truck?
No, why do you have to specify it, say a truck?
well, I think we want it.
want the truck.
Yes, we do.
But a truck is equipment.
That's right, and I think in fairness to the respondent, whoever's answering this, they should know if it's our expectation that they show up with a truck, or if we're gonna provide a truck. We should know as a board what our expectation is. Now, maybe there's not enough profit in fuel sales, and the guy selling the fuel will tell us that. They'll say, well, I'll drive the truck, but you gotta buy it. I think our starting position was, you bring a truck.
Well, we're either gonna be buying a truck outright, or it's gonna be included in the proposal from the FBO.
Yes.
And if they're smart, they would include that in their pricing. It would go up by, whatever, $50,000 a year or $80,000 a
Whatever
year,
it
I
goes
don't know.
up.
Yeah.
But I think the point of clarity is, what is the expectation of this group? So whoever's responding to the proposal can price it accordingly.
Yeah.
He would, or she would write back and say, oh, well, I offered you this price because I didn't know I was you were asking me to provide a truck. So, you know, we either will maintain our position, which last time was, it's the FBO's responsibility to provide the truck, and we'll get bids priced as such. Or, we're not gonna ask the FBO to provide a truck, and we'll get bids priced reflective of that requirement.
Can you put a section or subsection in there that asks for, you know, and I remember we talked about, like I said, you know, I thought a fuel truck would cost hundreds of $1,000s, and that it would not. So, I don't know how big a lift it is financially, but if we put like an asterisk or some subcategory which says, and also add into the proposal an ability to provide a truck and fuel sales for the truck. That makes sense? Because I hear what Barry's saying, and it's just big cost that some people might stay away from, and I hate to have nobody bid because
You've got that stipulation.
And just something else I'll throw out there is, given our seasonality, does the fuel truck need to be available year-round or only during season? for example, in January and February, I'll maybe sell jet fuel once or twice a month period. Maintaining a vehicle, if you're leasing a vehicle, to fill that requirement, there's a lot of costs with no benefit really to anybody. In July and August, different scenario.
Well, go ahead,
I'm
Cindy.
sorry, okay, so I hate to kind of backtrack and have you guys explain anything right now in depth or anything, but obviously I wasn't here for this, so do we know the cost of getting a fuel truck versus leasing? Do we know that?
Jeff threw out $40,000 to $50,000 for a used fuel truck, is that?
No, it was less than that, but that was at the time, what was it, like?
We had a big, a truck probably too big, but it would be a truck for like under 20 grand. You could get a used fuel truck.
But that was a used one again, and that was at the time, I don't know if it's still available or not.
So, my opinion would be to change this to the FBO providing the fuel truck. And if that is a big stipulation, obviously, we can change it afterwards if.
Can we ask for a bid of both ways?
Well, we could do that. Why don't we do that? If we see everyone saying we're all bidding without the fuel truck and it's that big of a holdup, but there might be an FBO that says, we have a fuel truck right here and that we have no issue bidding on. If a used one's going for under 20 grand, I was on Karen's side, when I heard it in my head, I thought $200,000. I never looked at it, so.
Could we put in, I know it's under required services, could we have a preferred services section where it says we would prefer to receive a bid?
Well, that is desired services next.
Oh, is it already in there?
No,
For a fuel truck?
it's not there, but
Okay.
there is a section that has non-required.
I like
Okay.
that idea.
Then that's perfect, let's add it to
Preference,
that
you know,
Yeah.
preference for a fuel truck. Not for nothing, but the other day I was pulling out of, Hill Road on Parkdale, and I saw a 3/4 ton truck with a Jet A fuel tank on it, like a 400-gallon tank. I don't know, there's trucks of all sizes and,
That doesn't meet Part 139 requirements.
okay. So,
Are they at Wesco?
That was actually U.S. Forest Service who was conducting operations out of here for about 2 weeks.
okay, all right. So my point is I'm still of the opinion the airport authority should really consider investing in a fuel truck. And that would solve some of our issue here.
Can you put
But-
that in your budget?
No, you took it out.
All I know is our fund balance is going down the longer we sit here.
I guess to split the middle, you put it in as a preferred service, including fuel truck. But if that's the way it's gonna go, we're either gonna pay for it through the FBO, or we're gonna buy one as a authority.
Okay, so, if we could amend this to, a couple of things. In the preferred section,
Desired.
or-
Desired
yeah,
services.
right. Desired services.
first one.
Yep, exactly. They go right to it.
Okay. And I don't know, Barry, in here, did it show up, but, one of the things, as I recalled the email, was, for the respondent to put their strategic plan for how they were planning to grow the operation over the term of the contract.
I don't know how to answer that. That's not a, again, I just provided you a list of requirements.
Yep.
So I don't think that was in your red line, so no, you did not.
You're right, it wasn't in my red line, and what I'm asking is, can we just, in our desired services or, required maybe as we scroll down, yes?
I'm not sure who you're talking to, because as far as I understand, you're writing this. So, I don't know who you're directing to doing this.
Okay, so I'll add the bullet point for a 3-year strategic plan, and, under desired services, a fuel truck. Do it, very good.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, so should we review the desired services?
Well, I stopped on the required, so
Okay,
fueling, being responsible for collecting all of the, authority-imposed fees, so landing fees and any other fees that might be applicable. Even though, from what I understand, it is anticipated that you will have staff here, they probably aren't here same hours as the FBO is open. So the way it works today is the FBO is responsible for collecting airport fees and then remitting those to the airport.
and that's so that's essentially status quo, so to speak,
Yes.
right? The whole thing is largely
Kind of
status
reflects
quo.
how things operate today, yes.
Yep.
But, with what I understand is being proposed is an airport operator contracted and then, manager as staff. You have to put some of these things in one category or the other, and I think landing fees make sense for the FBO collecting, since they're the ones interacting with that customer and then remitting those fees onto the airport, as opposed to having a plane come in and have to do two transactions, one pay for fuel and then separately pay any other fees.
Mm-hmm.
Managing parking in tie-down areas, so again, that's kind of general FBO, services, and providing basic flight line services and ground handling for general aviation aircraft. Again, that's generally the definition of an FBO. And then there is kind of a laundry list of other things that FBOs can provide, from aircraft rental, flight training, air charter, aircraft and engine maintenance and repair, de-icing, ground power service, specialized things like unique air tours, aerial photography, et cetera. And then currently the FBO operates the vending machine concessions at the terminal. So that's the FBO section. And then this, so D is basically, I'm talking about expectations around what it means to maintain the facilities. So perform efficient or effective and efficient maintenance operations and conduct cross-training on employees. So basically, we're expecting respondent to do proper things around staffing. This is, so coordinate with the airport director within the approved airport operating budget, according to any purchasing policies and FAA purchasing guidelines, procurement of all equipment, tools, compliance with materials, supplies regionally necessary for air maintenance operation of the airport. So if you have a business that is responsible for basically maintaining everything, that is separate from the authority and airport director who's paying for everything, there needs to be close cooperation between those two entities so that budgeting flows from the authority through the manager over to those that are actually doing the work. Expectation of conducting routine inspections and reporting that of all of equipment, properties, et cetera. Making sure that documentation is there and preventative maintenance is being conducted. And then to forego a battle that came up a few years ago on what the term maintenance means, I added this last point. The term maintenance here means that the vendor shall provide the labor for all basic maintenance, regular preventative maintenance for the airfield facilities and equipment. The authority shall be responsible for providing all maintenance supplies, parts, and equipment. Maintenance and repairs outside of basic maintenance shall be the responsibility of the authority. I don't dig down into, well, what's basic and what's not. I think there can be some leeway, but in previous discussions that came up here, term maintenance was essentially very broadly interpreted, that any repair, regardless of how much, $10,000, $20,000, that's still maintenance. I've created this concept of a basic maintenance, which is you're doing the work, your oil filter changes and greasing and lubing, but if the engine blows, that's not maintenance. That's
You know, Barry, what, to quantify that, if we put a, objective criteria in there, because right now, it's a noble attempt to say, you know, basic and
no,
whatever.
I know, but
Could we say, vendor will provide maintenance up to $20,000 a year, and authority would be responsible for anything over. So I don't know what the oil changes and the filters and the, you know what I mean? And that way, people can budget. I don't know, because I don't know what basic maintenance, I don't really know what that delineation solves, because we don't have a criteria, but if we draw a line in the sand at wherever the line is, so I'm asking you, what's reasonable? What do you spend, annually on maintenance?
we spend probably $100,000 between labor and parts and supplies.
Orchard Beach Aviation?
The airport, because everything right now is billed back to the airport.
So the first term, the term maintenance here means that the vendor shall provide the labor for all regular basic maintenance and regular preventative maintenance for airfield facilities and equipment. So that first sentence is saying the vendor.
So the authority's paying for all the maintenance at the moment.
So
It's all getting billed back.
the way it currently works is, in the billing that gets submitted, and the agreements, it's the convoluted set of agreements that we have in place. So there's a Part 139 agreement between Orchard Beach and the airport, and that basically covers Section 8 here, all the Part 139 services. Then there is an FBO agreement, which has in it the rest of these. And the payment for the FBO maintaining the airport it's just billed hourly back to the airport. So every hour that gets spent plowing, mowing, wrenching on vehicles, painting the terminal, all of those hours get billed back at an hourly rate to the authority.
Well, Part
It's not a
130,
fixed amount.
Okay.
It's whatever it takes.
but to your point though, Adam, we don't have, we would have to deem, if we wanna put up to $50,000 a year, we'd have to deem that number because it's convoluted right now, so that would.
I'm just trying to set a clear, no different than the fuel truck, just set a clear expectation of the bidder. And specifically, what I'm zeroing in on is sentence 1 of section 5, after and regular preventative maintenance for the airfield facilities and equipment. So I'm asking if there's a dollar amount there. Maintenance and repairs outside of basic maintenance shall be the responsibility of the authority. So does that mean that the responsibility of the vendor is the first 50,000, 20,000, 100, I don't know.
The way I was envisioning and wrote this was, instead of just, 'cause today, the authority basically has an agreement with Orchard Beach, the FBO, to do this stuff. But the cost of it all is pushed back onto the authority.
Yes,
Based on an hourly rate.
right.
This is envisioning that a certain percentage of that would just be part of the overall bid.
Obligation of the FBO.
Right, so you're not getting monthly bills, but anything.
But you're gonna
being-
get monthly bills, 'cause you're gonna bid based on that, and so what
Yeah,
I'm really trying to
yeah.
funnel into is, are we gonna take the first 25,000 and push it to the bidder, the first 50,000? Back to the point, you gotta know, somebody has to know how to bid.
Am I hearing the difference, the delineation here is the difference between overhauling an engine, because you're paying a person an hourly rate regardless. It's what are the responsibility for? If we need to buy a piston to rebuild that engine, we're buying that piston no matter what. The airport authority's gonna be buying that piston. The FBO does not have the expertise, and it's not their responsibility to rebuild that engine. Am I hearing that correctly?
No.
That is a distinction, but I think there's a lot of things in between. And it partly gets into, to me, the difference between maintenance and repair. And again, those words overlap and.
Guys, it's really just money. It's really just money. And it's how do we allocate what's on our side of the ledger versus what money, obligation, monetary obligation does the FBO come down to?
I'm not sure Barry has that answer, because it's all one right now, so we need to decide.
You're right. And so what I've been saying for the last 10 minutes is, draw a line in the sand. Is the line at 25,000, 50,000, 100,000? I don't know. And my initial question to Barry was, well, what's Orchard Beach spending a year on maintenance? And he says, well, we're really billing it back to you. So I come back to, it's just money. Pick a dollar amount, put the dollar amount in. The FBO has responsibility, because we can sit here till cows come home and talk about what's regular maintenance, big maintenance, little maintenance, and we'll never solve that unless we have an exhaustive list. So if you have a dollar amount, that is objective.
Right, well, it is objective, but how do you,
So I think,
I mean, does that dollar amount include labor?
Yeah.
We can say it includes or excludes.
And at what rate? So you can measure hours easily, but a dollar amount, you have to convert hours to dollars. And therefore, are we asking that the respondent to this RFP would include an hourly labor rate for maintenance, and it is expected that they would conduct X amount of dollars as part of their contract, and then anything above that would get billed at said rate. So basically, we're kind of defaulting back to what we do today. Basically, it's an hourly rate, and, I mean, if you say it's $20,000, my assumption would be anyone responding to this RFP would add $20,000 to the ask to cover that, and then anything beyond that, you know, would get billed as it is today.
Well, and presumably, they're gonna mark it up. They're gonna say, if we're working, you know, if the FBO mechanic is changing the oil, and the FBO is paying the oil change guy $20 an hour, he's gonna send us a bill for $40 an hour. There's some markup, right?
In order to bid on maintenance, operating and maintain authority airport assets, we have to have an asset list. Because we're not gonna get billed monthly for them to maintain their tugboat or their assets, but they're operating our assets. And so we have to have a list of expectations of maintenance for our assets. for the loader, for the lawnmowers, all that stuff. So included in this, we need to have that list of assets so they know what's being operated, and then we have to have a maintenance plan. Give us a bid for this maintenance.
That is being worked on in parallel.
Yeah.
George and I met this week.
Okay. So so I would refer to that list of assets in here and attach that list of assets. I think that would clear up a lot. Because we're not gonna pay like I said, we're not gonna pay separately for the FBO to work on their equipment. That's part of their deal. We're talking about our assets that they're maintaining. Does that?
Good clarification.
I better note that clarification, Dylan.
The title in D maintains authority airport assets. That would be
But I would
But
think if I was
expectation
bidding,
is
I'd be
that-
saying,
and
what is
that's-
your asset?
Right.
What Orchard
If
Beach
I'm gonna
Bill
bid,
says,
what are
we don't
they?
bill you things that aren't, yours.
Yeah, so I think
Right.
having that list is,
And, maintain a
yeah,
log of
I think that's
what
important.
each one is.
Right. Yep.
But it could be audited at any time,
So to
So
add,
you and George are working on a list of assets that would be included with this.
can be included in this.
It's gonna have to be included
Yeah,
in
I
order to
would
get a
think so.
number like Adam wants.
Do we have that present, is the, I guess where I'm going with it is, if we hold the which I think we should include the list, I
Yep.
agree, but is the RFP publication, we would be waiting until we had the list, so how quickly can we get the list so we can get the RFP published?
George and I are scheduled to meet next Thursday to go over a draft of it, so.
Part of the RFP is gonna have to include a facility walkthrough.
I would anticipate that, yes.
Okay, so that being said, this section makes sense to me.
Well, don't you want me to add the
Yes.
asset list?
Yes.
But I guess is there enough clarity as to basic versus non-basic maintenance?
Well, if it's our equipment, we're paying for everything, right? We're gonna hand them a maintenance schedule for the snowplow. Say every 50 hours, you're gonna change the oil. That's on us. They're gonna bill us for that. And they'll be able to tell us what that is based on us handing them that asset and knowing that every 50 hours, we expect this suite of maintenance. And if the engine blows up, then we're gonna have to deal with that.
Well, but there's a lot between engine blowing up and changing the oil.
What I'm saying is every
Bearing
bit of
is out.
maintenance.
And
Yeah.
again, to me, it's what I consider repairs. You're doing basic maintenance, you're inspecting it, and you discover, oh, this is broken.
Yeah.
Well, to me, basic maintenance ends at that discovery, then it's a repair. We
When
fix
repairs
it.
are our cost.
But either way, we're paying for it, if it's our
Yeah.
equipment.
It's inspections
not-
versus repairs.
Yeah, I see where Barry's going. They are very separate,
But
in many ways.
often the term maintenance
They come
can
together,
be,
but
all
maybe we
encompassing.
should clarify.
and that's,
Maintenance slash
try to
and
use
repairs.
basic maintenance as this more
Yeah.
limited term.
Should we say maintenance inspections? I mean, are you really alerting us when our equipment's broke, and then it's our obligation to fix it? I'm asking.
Okay, so we have to be careful about not getting too micromanaged about this. And so I guess that some of what you're trying to say is that you're trying to put a big umbrella so that they kind of have some ability to manage it and an expectation that they are communicating with us.
And number two is trying to, that level of communication should be coordinating with the airport director to make sure that expenditures are approved and the contractor's not just going off and it's like, oh yeah, I'm finding all these things and it's repairs and I'm gonna bill $60 an hour and make a lot of money off of it.
Sometimes
And
with
the airport director could say,
yeah,
no, we can live with a dent in the door or whatever it might be.
sometimes with the RFPs, we take them in, we kind of get our top candidates and then more the micro sessions happen. So I'm hearing more micro stuff, maybe at that next level.
Right. But at this level, it's some expectation as to what is really being asked to perform
Yeah.
and who's paying for it so that it can be bid appropriately.
Some of the RFPs I've done, you have a, like a welcoming and questions, answers, you know, Q&A kind of time. Would we put one of those in there? And clarify questions that they may see.
Q&A
Like a
time.
Q&A, you know, it's like, okay, here's an hour or two, we'll, you know, and we'll go through it, and they can ask questions, and then fine tune it, and, you know, kind of get our idea of what we're thinking, because sometimes words don't always encompass
So
everything.
respondents will be granted a 1 hour,
Q&A with us.
okay.
Yes, I mean, it's fairly typical that you invite all
Yeah.
potential bidders in, everyone asks their questions,
Yep.
those questions get written down, the answers get written down, and if someone comes in later, they get questions and the answers, so that everyone's on the same playing field and everyone hears the same information.
Is there any written modification to section 5? Has the group, come up with any proposed change?
There has to be, we have to add the list of assets.
Asset attachment.
Yeah.
Okay, but, tell me what to write.
I think there should be something for that. The assets,
That was from above,
Oh,
we're gonna,
yeah,
we're
that's
gonna add it
maintenance.
up above.
Yeah. Actually, it was
So in this section, I don't see,
B and D, it's one before.
no, it would be in D, wouldn't it?
That one's more,
Airport assets with high standards of management, operations, and maintenance.
and we could say C attachment,
Yeah.
you know,
oh
so
yeah,
that they know
airport assets,
what we have.
yeah. Because I know if I was bidding on something, I wanna know, what are those assets?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At least it'll be right in front of me, so I know right away.
So are we adding, last, sentence in section 5 to say, an asset list, ASSET, list, for which, regular maintenance,
Neat.
provided, an asset list for which FBO will conduct regular maintenance will be provided,
Yeah, will be attached. Provided below.
will be attached.
Yeah.
Is attached. Less is more.
Yeah.
Is attached. Okay. An asset list for which FBO will conduct regular maintenance is attached. Is that good? Okay. Okay. Okay, so, when do we want to, establish a date by which we would like to publish this?
Did you still want to add a strategic plan to that?
Yep. Yeah, I've got that noted in here, that the FBO, should provide a plan, demonstrating their ability to execute their vision for desired services. I think the thought there is that if somebody comes in and says, well, we're gonna do flight charters and aircraft rentals and air charter service and maintenance and repair, and they promise us the moon, I'd like to see what's their business plan to deliver. Because I wouldn't wanna hitch our wagon under, the idea or notion that.
For sure.
Well, our
RFP.
So, we will get their financials and everything. Okay.
You know, it's not included in here, Karen, but that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, we wanna have their financials.
Okay. Okay.
So if we hitch our wagon, and we find somebody with poor financials, we're certainly gonna unhitch the wagon.
Okay.
And depending on, well, we could do this down the road. I guess you could do that at contract time with articles of incorporation, all that kind of stuff, yeah. I've done one of these once or twice. And for pushing this forward, you know, I think we did about 2 weeks worth of good, wordsmithing, and we can probably put it out by the next Memorial Day.
Why don't we send it out by the 23rd of May?
Right.
I mean,
So that Friday.
respondents should provide their strategic plan to execute. You know, Karen, what have you asked for? Financials is a pretty
Yeah,
broad
you're-
term.
well, you're gonna probably want, like, you know, maybe, ask for their,
Preston?
Like a balance sheet, maybe,
yeah,
a balance sheet.
yeah, you know,
Yeah, P&Ls for other, I don't know if they would be airport separate, or I even ask for their tax returns. I never did one of these, so I don't know what's
Yeah,
appropriate or
I was
not.
gonna say tax returns, but, you know, sometimes some people have a real hard time bringing that forward, and I get it, you know. It's more dicey than your.
I think a balance sheet and P&Ls suffices.
And
Show, it
If
shows,
anything you see, then you kinda ask for more.
Provide their strategic plan. You know, generally, when buying businesses, you look at 3 years of financials, so it's 3 years worth of balance sheets.
yeah. Last three
The
years.
most recent 3 years.
Most recent 3 years. Balance sheets. And,
In there
profit
about
and loss.
having all this airport knowledge. And this,
I
What
think,
the advertiser thinks, there was a
I
job
mean-
description which talks
Oh,
about
Okay.
that.
We
well,
want
that's
somebody
the
that's very
director's
well-
description. Use that language in here.
Exactly what Cindy's talking about, that was great language, I think, and it says
Yeah.
having knowledge and
yeah, because
understanding.
we really need somebody, I think, with the EAS knowledge. What do you think? I mean, no,
for the FBO, 'cause this is for the FBO,
Operation, no.
no.
Part 139.
Part 139, but we have that listed in there. I'm under the assumption.
Ensure compliance with FAR.
I think for the
Everything that's going on here.
For the director
I'm confused right
position,
now.
Yeah,
Cause this is not to look at somebody that's gonna run the airport
No.
like Barry
we're
is?
going
No, what is this?
I think we have two paths.
right now it's Barry's the director, and then he also owns the FBO, Orchard Beach Aviation. This is to go out for bid for the FBO. I think director, we still have to work on, it's a different portion.
Yeah, which we do have a job description prepared to review that. And the opening line of this says, Manistee Bellacre Airport Authority envisions a management operation scenario wherein the vendor, FBO, would provide complete turnkey operations of the airport to the airport authority, working under the direction, working under the direction of the airport director, to manage.
So back to your point,
So
the
is this
direct, I agree with you, when we're looking at a new director, we want them to be knowledgeable in the EAS system.
So this sounds like two different positions.
That's right.
Yes.
FBO is one, request for
But
proposal.
it's not gonna be the same person. You're talking about two separate.
I mean,
We, in theory,
That's why I'm confused, because I'm so used to just dealing with Barry that runs both.
yeah.
right,
Yes.
So, that's why I was a little confused on what's going on here, and that's probably partly my fault because I was gone, so I
No
missed the
problem.
meetings, but, so, this makes it sound like we're almost hiring two different people.
we are.
We are.
Okay.
You're hiring a
Unless-
Company, correct,
and then,
a director
and assistant.
and
So
assistant.
it's really three is the current.
Ideally, someone can own the FBO, it'll be a company. We'll hire a director who has nothing to do with the FBO, and an assistant
Okay.
director.
So Barry wears two hats.
Hmm.
Barry's sitting there as our FBO with a hat that says Orchard Beach Aviation. And on Barry's other half of his head, he's sitting there, collecting a paycheck as our airport director, Barry Lind. Two entities,
Okay.
two contracts, in theory, Orchard Beach Aviation could win this bid for FBO. And if Barry wanted to, he could apply for airport director, a second job posting. I don't know that he wants to, but would be status quo, no different than what we're doing today.
Okay,
Barry is filling a director
Okay.
role and an FBO role.
okay, gotcha. Okay, that's where I was confused. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure I'm following this whole thing. All right.
So this request is just for our FBO.
Yeah,
I
and,
mean,
go ahead.
I would actually say this request is really for someone to operate the airport and provide FBO services.
You know,
Because the majority of this is operating the airport, then a much smaller piece is selling fuel. So it's nothing like a traditional FBO.
Hmm.
It's a specialized operating the airport and then do FBO services as well. Now, it blends and but to me, it's phrased the other way is more appropriate.
well, and I don't know, I truly don't know, but in, what pleasure of the group is, but I think this is very important. I wanna make sure, Karen, you're with me on this, because as written, this says, Manistee Blacker Airport Authority envisions. I wanna just wait till everybody's with me, because I think that this is tremendously important. And I don't know that anybody's had the time to read it, because it just came out. And I think it's, Barry just highlights a great point. Manistee Blacker Airport Authority envisions a management operations scenario wherein the vendor would provide complete turnkey operations of the airport authority, working under the direction of the airport director which I don't know if that's appropriate based on what follows, to manage all hiring and employment of airport maintenance staff, provide aircraft rescue and firefighting, that's the ARF services, provide compliance with federal aviation regulation, FAR Part 139 operational requirements, maintain airfield as well as airport-owned facilities. I think we as a board have a question to answer, and that is, what is the relationship?
I would say work with director for all of those.
Well, okay, my question for the group is, what is the relationship, who's running the place?
Director?
Well, I think so, but I want clarity from the group.
My vote is director.
Okay, so the FBO would report to the director. The director would report to the board.
Correct.
So I wanna make sure that what's in our minds gets, put through in writing here. Dylan, are you, okay, so I'll review and reread, but I just wanna make sure that the chain of command here is director, FBO, board at the top. FBO and director are gonna work, director's gonna report to us, so that the board isn't dealing with two people, we're dealing with one, whoever whoever the director is.
Yeah, and
I agree.
have all kinds of ideas how a director would operate, but it's
Sure.
like, you're gonna bring that person along, they're gonna be sitting in our meetings, I mean,
Perfect.
yeah.
Right.
We wouldn't see the FBO guy unless there's an issue that,
Well,
or
I
he
would
could
bring
come-
them into the meetings
I think he
and,
should be
you know,
part, yeah.
sitting on the sideline, so
But-
that they're fully aware, so that, I mean, I just see it as a more of a, I don't wanna see it as top heavy down, I wanna see it collaborative.
Yeah.
Definitely in control is our director, collaborative, and again, that's a hiring process. We gotta
Great.
find a person that can be that way.
perfect. I agree, I just, because I wanna make sure this accurately reflects that,
And
and,
that's just kind of that's a style I'm comfortable with, so, I'm sure there's other people's feelings, and I'm just voicing my,
so it sounds like there's consensus here around the,
I agree.
around the horn. Okay, great. Well, I think we've got good direction to make some minor adjustments to the request for proposal. So, Barry, do you have any other thoughts to add to it?
Additional information that I think needs to be in the RFP are a few more statistics about the airports, most of which you already have, from the information you sent out earlier in strategic planning, like what are our fuel sales, and probably a 3-year track, because fuel is where FBOs make their money, and without that information being in here, that will be question number 1 that people will ask. Annual operations, again, a lot of the statistics you already gathered, and shared, probably need to be in here so that a bidder has enough information to understand the level of volume, they can start calculating their revenue potential.
Are there is there anything that comes to mind that I didn't gather? The easy work is for me to cut and paste at what I already did, but I don't know if I was missing something.
I think so, but I may think of something after we leave
Okay.
here, and I will
Sounds good.
share that with you, but
Thank you.
I don't think, I don't remember what I gave you, and it's been a while since I looked at that, is whether I just gave you 1 year's fuel sales, or if there were like a history of fuel sales. And I think an important note of that is how much the airline, if you're looking at the history, it includes what Cape Air was buying. It's gonna go dramatically down going forward under Contour.
We have, what I have here is, a spreadsheet, 2024 fuel sales
Okay, so,
in gallons.
okay, so I think there needs to be 3 years of that, and then a note that says this much was airline, and going forward,
Delineated between avgas and,
it's expected to be less for airlines.
okay. Noted. So, I guess we've got our new business taken care of. Approval agenda, should we go to the, minutes? Public comment? I guess they're there. Barry, is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak?
He is on mute, so.
Barry, anybody from the public wish to speak?
There he's gone.
Okay. Still on mute?
He was briefly off and then went back on mute.
Okay. All right, then we'll go on to approval of minutes.
I will motion.
Barry, did you want to say anything?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Oh, okay. I just had one thought process when you were talking about the gift card. I think it's a good idea. I was just wondering if we should just, instead of paying for it, why don't we go to the local businesses and have them pay for it, and then we would have certain vendors where the contestant would be able to go to, and we wouldn't have to fund that. Moreover, how do we pick a winner without anybody thinking it's fixed in some way?
The airline, said they would help, from a lottery basis of their reservation, system, so, it wouldn't necessarily be any of us here at the table. Number two, the authority board is, how do we address the ethics, Barry? Not, Barry here at our office, our airport director is also Barry. The second, point you raise about, merchants cooperating, I think people that pay, membership investment dues in economic development, organization, Chamber of Commerce, those two entities,
And the DDA. DDA.
collects dues.
Yeah, those,
Ma-
yeah.
well, what-
We got local people already contributing.
Karen Goodman, who sits on the DDA board and the county commission, said there were already, local, contributors, but my point was the Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development Organization is a public-private partnership, founded, or not founded, but, that raises investment from both public and private entities. In their contribution, Chamber and Economic Development, which is 2/5 of this, is, I think they're viewing it as a benefit of membership in their organization. So they're taking, a portion of their private sector dollars and giving it back to their members. The airline, is a 1/5 partner, and they've made that private business decision, there. So, regularly, public entities choose to spend public dollars on marketing, and I would say about 40%, 40 to 50% of the overall share would be, public dollars, and they chose to, use some of those public dollars toward this marketing approach.
So, get rid of the echo, I have to mute him, so.
Barry, we had you, we had you on mute. Now, have we taken him off so he can?
Right, we're hearing echo again.
Is there anything else you'd add?
No, just interesting. You still owe me a drink, Adam.
Well, are you in town?
Yeah, I live here now.
Oh, full time. Well, great. Well, I know where you are.
I'm just kidding.
All right. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. So, I think we had a motion by Karen on approval of the minutes.
You approving both sets or just the one?
So I actually have hard copies of the closed session minutes that I was not able to send out via email, so I'm gonna give you those each a set. No, you keep both of those.
Oh, okay.
Give those, yep.
So I guess there are 4 sets of minutes then,
Yeah.
total.
And if you wanna look at these, and then I do need those back when you're done. So yeah, we should probably approve regular, then closed, so.
So I will make the motion that we accept the minutes and closed session minutes of March.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
And I'll make the
Yeah.
motion that we accept the minutes of April, including the closed session.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Treasurer's report. Lindsay, would you be willing to read, and thank you for printing. I think, Susan, is not here today, and she let Barry and I know that she would be absent. And she wrote a short little memo with some updates for us, on financial matters. Did you print out a copy for everyone, or would you just like to read it, Lindsay?
Well, her statement I did include in the email, but, just that the airport financials are as presented. We are waiting to make the April 2025 payment to Contour. The county has not received the March 2025 reimbursement for the payment of $599,536. Once the county receives reimbursement, the county then will pay the April invoice, which is $576,912. Contour is paid through March of 2025. She goes on to say, at the time I did the April finance report, I did not have the April invoice. If the board could approve the paying of the April 2025 payment after we have it, we receive the March 2025 reimbursement.
Did she tell us in the Q&A there what amount she was asking the board to pay?
It's the $576,912.
After we receive.
After we receive
After we
the
receive the
$599.
$599.
Correct.
I'll motion to approve the April payment after we receive the reimbursement.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Cindy. Roll.
Mr. Adam Dant?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Mr. Picardi?
Yes.
Okay, so, accounts payable. Barry, do you have anything you would like to share under treasurer's report in addition to that on any of the three items there? General fund, Fund 481?
I don't have any additional comments, no.
Okay.
But if anyone has anything, I can try to answer.
Anything from anyone else on that? Okay. Then should we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Walker moved. Goodman second. Should we call a roll?
Mr. Adam Dant?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Mr. Picardi?
Yes.
Okay. Committee reports and discussion. Executive committee did not meet. Capital Projects Committee, Preston, would you like to give us an update on that?
So, touched on previously, George and Barry met and pulled the asset list. Do you have that available, Barry? Not the ours, but the format we're gonna use?
Sure, I can.
Thank you. From Kalamazoo, is that correct?
Yeah.
So, they're working to put together a list of assets, and kind of separate, I'll show you. There's a facility sheet, so everything with the building.
See this too.
What?
Not good enough just for me to see it on my screen, you need to see it too.
And then there's vehicles, a list of that column, snowplows, mowing. And it shows year purchase. And what they did, kept it real simple, they redlined kind of their priorities. So as we get this together, yeah, shows the year, classification, how much they bought it for, if you have that info. So it's the first stage of getting our
So,
list in order.
this spreadsheet would basically be, at the top section here, everything that has an engine. And then this, I've actually reformatted, and I'm not sure why I'm not seeing my changes. Is kind of all of the pieces of equipment that somehow augment these things with engines. So like plows for, trucks,
Implements, attachments.
and other things that kind of fall in the equipment category but don't have an engine. And that's what this spreadsheet, is anticipated to maintain. And the other,
So actually, you're helping put that together, Barry, with George?
my staff is working on filling that.
My question for you was, I guess, where are you starting? Because you have a list you're going off of. There's a lot of pieces, I'm imagining, in the maintenance shop. I guess, how are you making sure you have every piece of equipment, or are you just going off your,
It's walking around.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
okay,
The FBO owns so few things that everything that's there is.
it's all airport? Okay.
So, the question that George and I intend to kind of go through when we get this draft is, how far down in value do you go in inventory? Do every wrench in the toolbox and those things, or?
How far down, it's like depreciation stuff, you know, it's like a wrench and all that stuff, I agree.
Exactly, but it's just,
Something,
there will be some things that'll be kind of on that borderline.
something with a value over $2,000.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
I think putting a base value, I'd even say maybe 5,000.
5,000, yeah.
To me, the chief purpose of it is to help us with budgeting.
Mhm.
And, you know, the wrench isn't gonna break, but anything, Barry, I think to your point, motorized, what would be great is if on your other spreadsheet, there was a column that says, hey, this is 20 years old, and
Yeah, that was on there, yeah.
So it's basically when it's purchased, the expected lifespan, and then basically over the next 10 years, which vehicles need to get replaced and cost anticipated.
so, my only suggestion to that would be, if things were summed up and they had a schedule, you know, in 2026, we anticipate, you know, we're gonna spend $40,000 or $60,000, whatever it is, and it would be used to help us budget.
That's
Yeah, and that's what's up
this-
there.
these columns are, is
Yeah.
by year, anticipated funds needed to replace vehicle at the end of the.
So what you're saying that in the 2026 budget, 60 and 60 is 125, 180,000. So are you saying that there's $180,000 worth of equipment, you
In
think?
this example, which is Kalamazoo's
Oh,
data.
Yeah, that's not ours.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
This
But
is
that's
just the
what you would-
This is just the template that we're using to convey the information. We're currently in the process of loading in
And
our
as
information.
a board, we would look at that template too and kind of go, okay, so if it's in good condition at 60,000, can we push it out 1 year compared to it's in poor condition, we need to do it now, so.
Well, yes,
It's a budgeting outline for us too.
perfect.
And then this is the document we have been using, which I envision we would still use is the other spreadsheets that we're talking about are kind of the raw data that would get rolled up into this one-page document prioritized items on what needs to be locally funded out of our capital expenditures across both equipment as well as facilities, which is the other document. So this becomes where the data in those other spreadsheets rolls up into for planning and budgeting purposes. So then I will back over to, so that first document we looked at is equipment. This is buildings, grounds, and a catch-all other. So blue, every building we own. So terminal, hangars, equipment building, lighting vault, maybe some that I'm not thinking of right now, but that's, so the idea here is that you have more of a narrative approach to this, because a building like the terminal, not like the terminal gets replaced every 20 years. Its components within it are on some sort of basis, and that's how they track. This example that we're following tracks it is through a narrative that basically calls out within a building what components are going to need to be replaced, roof, painting, AC, whatever is applicable. And then there's color coding here, so green means it's good, black means it's, you know, not good. The other documents, they use red and green, but so that's the idea here. They do use red. Then the next section is grounds, and this is basically roughly all of the pavement surfaces that the airport has. Runways, taxiways, ramps, parking lots, etc. And the intention of this document is it, you know, covers not only airports owned, but also other components that maybe tenants own. So it still rolls up into this master list, although there's no expectation around us funding tenant-owned things, but at least we.
Until
If
now.
it's in really bad shape and, you know, we need to get on somebody to address it because it's an eyesore, you know, it could come out in the process. And then finally, the last section is just other, and that can be furniture, furnishings, computers, whatever kind of else we discover kind of falls within, you know, is $2,000, is it $1,000? Differ on things, but. So these are the templates that we're adopting, and as I said, we're going through the process. My staff is going through the process right now, gathering this information. George and I are going to review it next Thursday.
So Barry, well, first off, thank you. I think that's a lot of information and a lot of work being done and collated. And that layout is fine, but I think the budget committee would work real closely with the capital projects committee, because you're gonna come and say the building needs to be painted and we need whatever it is for that. I liked the Excel spreadsheet form, because really quickly you could identify in your maintenance, hey, we need X dollars. Are you gonna pull numbers maybe from each of these and add to a spreadsheet, or how?
That's, as I said, that's what this document is. This pulls it from all the other ones into a list at the top that is maybe only 2-3 years as opposed to going out 10 years, but it's the relevant document for budgeting purposes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I delayed my visit to the optometrist, so I couldn't see what that is, but, okay. Question answered, thank you. Anything else from capital projects? Okay. Budget committee. I have spoken, well, Karen, can you tell us, Lisa Segala has mentioned that the county is in its very early stages of, budgeting, in its budget cycle. So what month does the county adopt its budget?
We probably wanna be done with that by the end of June, definitely.
All you,
June or July.
you'd go to a public reading in July? June, July?
Somewhere in there.
Well,
I'm
think
not,
mo-
I
I
don't
think
know
more
the
towards-
specifics.
August
Is it August?
for final adoption.
Yeah, 'cause there's two processes. This is the first one, get it all gathered all together, then there's the second one.
Public
then
hearing and then
public hearing.
30-day comment, so generally August is my recollection.
so, August to do the 30-day reading,
To be finalized.
To be finalized, they like to be
so
finalized,
like July would be the 30-day reading.
Somewhere in there.
somewhere around there, yeah, depending on if we have everything in to,
We-
I mean, we've been the way,
Yeah, we've gone.
So in general, the idea is done by the end of July, be then adopted in August. And if something slips, you've still got September
Correct.
to get it done before the end of the fiscal year. So,
And we've been there before.
mhm.
yes.
So,
But generally, it's
Yeah, August.
during, from mid-June to mid-July is usually where all of the information is needed so that the process works.
Those requests have gone out, and so I'm sure you've gotten it by,
well,
it has to go, so.
my only point in asking was this, is I think, our fiscal year isn't till September 30, right? But,
That's ours
Which is
too.
counting, yeah.
okay, but, this year, I think it'd be good, because my sense is we may be having, I've already broached the subject with Lisa to request more money from the county. And I think generally, we maybe don't get involved in real heavy budgeting on our board, until July or August, which is a month or two after the county is real heavily involved in their planning. And so, this year, what I'd like to do is start budgeting a little sooner, because I think we'll be going to the county and asking for some more money. That would be helpful for us to get in the queue at the county and raise our hand, along with all the other department heads.
Didn't the request sheets go out? I thought I saw, unless Lisa just sent the outline, giving us a heads up, but she sends out the information to fill out. It went out.
They've gone out,
Okay.
yeah.
So, you got it?
Well,
That would go to Susan.
Okay, all right.
I guess
So, we need to get that over to you also, and to the board, so you know what it's.
yeah, I mean, it's like the, capital committee. It'd be great to have their findings in May, so we can figure out in June of the capital projects, what,
Just clarification, we got Susan doing our budget? I mean, you don't have any input in that?
We work together.
Okay, so you are
but,
aware
I
of what
mean-
this is? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I was just like, what?
Well,
Yeah.
it's convoluted.
Yeah,
Yes, it's part of the
What-
solution, but
One thing I'll propose to the group is that we hire a private accounting firm to do our books, not Susan, and we budget for it. I think we can get into that in a different day, but I think that would be helpful. So anyway, capital committee, I would assume, I would hope they would think of some ideas that they need money for. I don't think we'll be able to run this airport going forward in the next budget cycle for what we were able to run it for in the last budget cycle.
for proposing your budget,
Yep,
I would recommend that you call in Susan with your executive committee or your budget committee, whatever, and have those discussions together. Because if she's gonna submit the paperwork, you need to be talking directly with her about how this is gonna go.
well,
all of the ties we have, and the fact that we're essentially borrowing money from the county
Yep.
every month to pay Contour, there's so many ties right now that, and it historically was the case that our treasurer would lead the budget discussion, so Pomeroy and then, but Susan takes a much more background role in how she does things, but we need to get her engaged.
Yes, we need to pull her in.
We do, but this board needs to say, it's gonna cost X dollars to run the airport. We won't know until we get responses from an FBO, what they're gonna charge, or if we're gonna hire employees ourselves as an authority.
I don't think we're gonna have somebody on board by October 1, so I think we have two parallels we have to do here. We have to know what we wanna budget into the next year, but that may all change based on this FBO.
Well, Barry's retirement, I think, is September 30.
Mm-hmm.
We're going out with a posting, our posting says, is written right now, $85,000. That's 20,000 plus more. I guess where I'm going with it, Karen, is yes, we need to loop Susan in, but the board is gonna request of the county what additional we need for building maintenance, equipment maintenance, salaries. So all of that, really, in my opinion, kinda needs to be figured out by June from this group. So we can go to the county, and the county and Lisa and the board will start juggling.
We have our budget group, right?
Yes,
Please do that, and then bring it to the full board, and so, because you're gonna have the full board having a huge discussion. So if the budget committee puts all that together and brings it to the full board.
I think that's that is what's at the heart of my comment here, is usually, I think we start that in July, August. This year, I'd like the airport to start that in June. To come with a draft budget, so we can get it to the county
Right.
ahead of when we usually do.
I have to go, I have another meeting, sorry.
So that's the budget report. Bylaws,
Thanks,
Karen.
Karen.
Yeah.
Karen and I have been exchanging emails on the bylaws. I think we just need to update, Open Meetings Act.
Definitely.
That's really it.
And the only, there were some questions I had, but they're just kind of like, not revision questions, they're just like, why this, why that? All right, we'll talk more.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen, see ya.
Okay, car rental. Well, we've addressed the car rental section. Anybody have any other questions on that? We took care of that this morning with Enterprise. And Transition Committee, really, the Transition Committee did not meet. I appreciate Barry's efforts in working with me on the RFP, but the RFP is really what's been at the heart of Transition Committee and getting that out to this group that we looked at today. Why don't we take a look, if we can, it's in our email. I don't know, Barry, do we have printed copies? We do have a posting for airport director, a draft director posting. Could you put that up on the screen?
Do I have it?
Yes.
You sent it this morning. I was here already, so no, I haven't opened that yet. I can.
There you go.
Thank you.
I don't think I have anything else. Is that all?
That's it, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. We'll wait for the recess to conclude. It's also in your email. Stuff to see. About 7:30 this morning.
I don't have it. Did you send it to, right email?
Well, why not? Walker, MTU, do, see what, did this time.
Walker, MTU. Ah.
I just forwarded it to you.
Thank you, Barry.
I know you're waiting for it.
Well, we didn't have a quorum when both of you left.
Okay. All right, this is directors.
DWALKER,
MTU at gmail.com.
I don't remember the right one. I hope. Need a coffee truck to just come through in little cups.
Just like a hose.
Adam, I'm thinking that we get my report today and into the one in our next meeting in 10 days. Because we're already at 10:45 and you need to get going.
Well, thank you. Is there can we take 5 or 10 minutes for it and do an abridged, report? Announce to the group that sales are through the roof and we're on track for the best year
There's
ever?
nothing there that can't wait 10 days.
All right. I'd hate to, now that Cindy and Preston have coffee, they're all ready for the next round.
I know you're gonna be here soon, so.
Okay. So, here is a draft, job description. Cindy, we were talking earlier about the FBO versus,
The director's job.
yep. And so here's a draft of the director, role. So, I'll just read this over. Manistee County Blacker Airport Authority, MBLA, is accepting applications for the airport director position. Interested candidates should submit their applications to. Where do you think they should go, Barry? Should they go to Lisa? Should they go to somebody at the county? Should they go to you? Should they go to me? Where do you think directors should direct their submittals?
With you.
Okay.
Just FYI, that's not our name.
Manistee County.
The county is not in the authority's name. It's Manistee Blacker Airport Authority.
Great, Blacker Airport. Manistee Blacker Airport Authority.
BAA.
All right. To Adam Dotz. All right. Applications will be accepted until noon on June 15th. Are we okay with that date?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The role comes with competitive benefits and an attractive annual salary. Position, airport director. Compensation, $85,000 or greater, commensurate with experience and leadership ability. Anybody have any questions there? Better yet, why don't you just stop me when you have a question or a suggestion? Start date. Now, Barry, I think your contract goes through September 30, right? Okay. I think that we really should try to maximize the opportunity of some overlap between you and whoever the new person is. At first, I thought 2 weeks, but then I thought, how do you take 16 years and jam them into 2 weeks? So what sort of overlap do you think?
The real answer
Yeah.
is you need a year. But that's not practical, because so much happens once a year that you don't know the person doesn't know what they don't know until they go through that aspect of our yearly cycle. Like Part 139 FAA inspection will be 10 months after they start. So I think
A month is better than 2 weeks.
yes, but I think there may be need for reaching out and touching base beyond that as well, I guess what I'm saying.
So, does anybody have objection with September 1st as a start date? I think interviewing will take a little while.
September 1st is good.
Overview. Airport director will oversee daily operations, strategic planning, and overall management of MBLAA, and the fixed base operator, FBO. Role demands strong leadership, expertise in aviation management, and a commitment to enhancing airport services. Responsibilities: ensure compliance with all federal, state, and local regulations, manage and supervise airport staff, ensuring effective teamwork and productivity.
Well, I think that needs to be clarified, because the airport staff is managed and supervised by the other entity. So they're not really managing airport staff, they're managing the contractor relationship.
How about, could we say, any staff or contractors?
Sure, just, yep.
Supervise. Okay. Develop and implement operational policies to enhance efficiency and service quality. Oversee budget preparation, financial planning, and fiscal management. Foster and maintain relationships with airlines, tenants, and local community. Ensure the safety and security of all airport operations and facilities. Coordinate with government agencies and industry organizations to advance airport interests. Lead strategic planning initiatives to support airport growth and development. Address operational challenges proactively and implement innovative solutions. Ensure excellent customer service for travelers and stakeholders. Qualification: bachelor's degree in aviation management, business, or related field. Extensive experience in airport operations and management. Proven track record of leadership and team management. Strong understanding of aviation industry regulations and standards. Anything else under qualifications there?
What I think is missing is knowledge or understanding of Part 139.
Okay.
Because it's a very different position at a Part 139 airport versus not Part 139. You technically cover it when you say all federal rules, but that makes us a different caliber.
And what were we prior to 139, Barry? Not at all.
Yeah.
Well, I guess-
Beyond 139 is really, I think, how the FAA refers to it.
I think where I'm going with it is, hopefully we have a director that has a little runway out ahead of him and is here longer than 3-4 years. In the event we don't renew with Contour, we go from alternate essential air service to essential air service. Is there anything else, any other understanding that we would wanna put in here? I don't know what it would be, but
I mean, you don't mention marketing skills. That's
skills. Well, we will
I
hear
mean,
them.
I'll throw out things, I mean.
Great.
Today, I am the IT director of the airport too, so I do all IT. So I don't know if that's an expectation, I mean, it's certainly a desirable skill, otherwise we have to find some way of outsourcing that. I think those are the big things, but, Part 139 is definitely key.
Okay. Knowledge and understanding, I don't know if those are redundant. Knowledge and, is there anything else, training, of Part 139? How do we wanna word Part 139 point?
I can send you some markup after this, if you want.
Okay, please. Key skills: excellent communication, both written and verbal, problem-solving abilities, and proactive approach to challenges, exceptional organizational skills and attention to detail, ability to foster positive leadership with diverse stakeholders, commitment to safety, security, and regulatory compliance, visionary thinking and strategic planning capabilities, marketing and IT acumen. Okay, additional information. Airport director will play a critical role in ensuring airport meets the evolving needs of travelers and stakeholders. The position demands a forward-thinking approach to innovation and efficiency, contributing to the ongoing success at MBL. So we told them when they need to apply by, June 15th at noon. List my name and my email address. What other, suggestions do we have?
Do you want to, mention the overall structure that relates to airport operations being outsourced?
Well, Barry, I think that what we should do is maybe include a narrative right now of the relationship, that they're outsourced, yeah.
It's kind of like the first paragraph in the RFP, is it a requirement that they know that, but it makes a difference as to what the position is. That you're more managing a contractor than you are managing a staff of 8 people.
Well, I don't know that it's a foregone conclusion that they'll be managing a contractor. Maybe they'll manage a staff of 8. I don't know. We've got to get the bids, see if we can afford the bids, see if we agree on terms. Maybe they will manage 8. We don't know. So,
Do you wanna post the strategic plan with the job posting?
I think so. I think that would be a good thing to do.
I mean, we've got it here that the airport authority is accepting applications. Do we wanna include a statement that the director would report to the airport authority?
Mm-hmm. Board?
And is it something that we're provide relocation services at all?
I think that's part of the compensation, 85,000 or greater commensurate with
Okay.
experience and leadership ability and renegotiated.
Okay.
There are some industry certifications that I'm gonna recommend that you include. I don't have them off my head, but, yeah.
Great. Okay. Cindy, what, is the longest serving member of the Airport Authority Board here present? Kind of the wise owl here, you know, a bunch of greenhorns over on this side of the table. Anything that you'd like to add here to the description? Did you see it in your email?
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
is that what
it
you
was
were
hard to
looking
bring,
at?
well, I got so far, but it wouldn't let me move down for some
Oh.
reason, yeah.
Well, it was all on one page, or the one that I sent, anyway. I think.
I think it came on two, didn't it? Let me move back up here.
When do we plan to get this posted?
Well,
I think we should target approval next meeting. Post. Or right now. We have a warrant.
why don't we approve this for posting now, subject to what Barry's gonna,
Yeah, so I've got it on
supply.
here, but see, it won't move down. Additional
Right.
information, is that the end of it?
the additional information is one sentence.
Oh, okay, so maybe it is, oh,
The
there it
airport
goes.
director will play a critical role,
Okay,
and it ends with the word growth of MBL.
okay,
Yep,
yeah,
that's
I
it.
thought there was more, okay.
My email, anything else I missed from you? I just got an email from somebody. Reply.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Wow.
Sensational.
But did you say you had something you wanted to add to that?
I've got a couple things here that I just.
Industry certifications and
Yeah,
the plan.
but we can't really vote, though, we need 5.
No, you need,
Oh, that had to have 5 for a quorum, okay.
your board of 7, so forms 4.
Well, that's true, yeah, we're on.
So I would move after, you two lock horns on it, that we approve for posting.
Yeah, I would like to.
second that.
Okay,
All in favor?
motion by Walker, second by Picardy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. It's Thursday, okay. You know, Barry, where should we publish this?
Good question.
Obviously on our website, but I don't know how many people are checking it regularly and we're on a short fuse.
Well, one would be through our state,
Right,
consortium, they send these out all the time. And then the other I would recommend is one that Ken Munson mentioned to you, but it's the AAAE, which is the national version of our state, organization. That there's probably a place on there for posting.
Barry, can you post that for us?
Yep.
Can we, say that we'll post it by May 14th, that's next Wednesday? Okay, publication by May 14th. So that'll give it a month's market exposure. Okay. Well, it's only 11 o'clock. Are you sure you don't wanna do an abbreviated report? I do have 10, 15 minutes, if there's anything you wanna share.
No, I can't
All right,
rush through it, it doesn't make sense.
okay.
Could we just get a quick update on how is Contour's, record or performance been the
On
last
time.
month, on time?
Delays.
That's really what I'm curious about.
You can read the written report, but,
If you just go to that page.
so, they've not had a canceled flight in 9 weeks. So they're doing excellent on that front. The issue still is that their delayed flights are higher than we'd like. I've got some detailed statistics here for March and April. There's improvement from March to April. I'm hoping that everything they're doing is going to continue that improvement. So in general, just the call volume I'm getting of complaints has dropped dramatically. They're doing much better. A lot of it's just, we're not winter anymore, so everything gets easier. But, so delays are still the area. Passenger numbers are doing very well. Summer is going to be incredible. So,
The delays are frequent, or the communication with the delays is the problem still?
it's the length and frequency of the delays, and then more communication around them.
Do we, oh, I'm sorry.
Please.
Do we know how communication is going in Chicago with American? Because I've had a couple of clients that
That's where
have
the
had
big issue is.
problems. They get there, and the American Airlines people don't know basically what's going on, what the right hand is doing with the left hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then they change gates, but people don't know.
But that's all very true. I've experienced it firsthand.
So those are some of the complaints I've gotten. So I don't know if that's gotten any better, or if that's still an issue.
There's-
Why is that an issue? Why are they not training American, or why don't we have our own employee, or they don't have their own employee? Or I guess I don't.
They are staffing up.
Okay.
It is generally an outsourced operation supplemented with Contour employees.
Yeah, and Ben's kind of touched on that too when we brought it up in the past.
Contour, I think, has hired a full-time person in addition to the outsourced person.
Actually, multiple to cover their hours is the plan.
At ORD.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think they have hired some staff to address that. When I was in the airport and flying Contour the last 2 times, which are after Contour has hired staff to address that, the boards were updated with accurate information. I mean, back in December, January, my frequency of travel on it went down. I've picked back up on a lot of the issues that I experienced, which are similar to your customers, have been addressed on the days that I've flown in March and April. So I think those problems were very real. I think Contour's gone a long way to address them.
Now, has anybody else, or unless it was, false media blip, has anybody heard from Contour? Are they going in partnership with Spirit Airlines?
Well,
See, people wanna hear your report, Barry.
You said there's nothing important.
I just read that the other day, and I'm like, I'm gonna ask it.
this isn't even in my report. It's something I stumbled after I finished my report. I just saw this last night.
Yeah, I saw this yesterday or the day before.
So, I mean, this is their press release. It doesn't sound like there's deep partnership here. It's just Spirit will use Contour to ground handle them in airports that they share. Really the gist. I think there's hope that Spirit is struggling. They're in bankruptcy right now. Their competition, Breeze Airways, has entered EAS and is starting to win EAS contracts. So this is, I think, partly a competitive move on theirs to, well, maybe this is a market segment that we can get into and do one-a-week flights to various places. What I find interesting is we're somewhat unique because if you read this article, it talks about, the opportunity for a small community to get a flight to Florida. But we are a destination for tourism ourselves. So it's almost like we almost want the opposite type behavior of flying in from a major area into northern Michigan, which is not necessarily what this envisions, but I think, because in talking about the economic impact of the airport, if all we're doing is getting people to leave here and spend their money elsewhere, doesn't, makes some people happy, but it doesn't help our local economy. Trying to flip that around and getting people to bring people here who are spending their money, that's a win for us. But, you know.
So here's a question, I mean, there's a lot of, this is just hypothetical. You know, my sister lives out in Colorado, so this does not entail, which there's tons of airlines, and, I mean, actually, if I go out to see her, she comes to see me, we do Southwest, because it's nonstop to Grand Rapids, which is nice. But, per se, let's say, there's no agreement where she could hop on Spirit to Chicago, Chicago to here, and they would handle luggage and everything like they do with American Airlines. This is not that type of an agreement.
It's not like the American, it's.
That's what I was wondering, because I'm like, oh, that could be advantageous, because.
I mean, if you read the text here, it's Contours providing Spirit ground handling services.
Just ground handling.
And cooperating on route development. Spirit potentially
That's not a huge ground.
providing.
Newsflash.
No.
Okay.
So, Ben Munson has sent a text and said that Contour will share their counter space with Enterprise.
Awesome.
Okay.
And, I asked him to reach out directly to Roger and communicate that. We can follow up.
Okay.
But I just said, we need another advocate, helping to welcome Enterprise, and letting them know that their next door neighbor, literally, 3 feet away, wants to be cooperative and wants them there. So, he'll reach out to Enterprise as well and just say, hey, we'll share, and we can make sure the documents reflect that. But, I think we keep, finding solutions to, issues as they arise.
Right.
That's life.
And you know, Cindy, there certainly were operational issues that were inflicted upon Contour's customers early. But I think they really are working diligent to correct them. I think they were exacerbated by the weather. I think once the weather turned, a lot of the issues have been corrected. And in my experience with Contour, literally within 6 minutes, when I said, hey, will you contribute to our gift card idea? Yes. I sent Ben a text, I mean, within 2 hours, will you share the counter? Yes. They really are highly responsive, at least to me, and really trying to put their best foot forward, I think.
And they're gonna find this summer that we're one of their best performing airports in that window.
Which is great, yeah.
I mean,
I always believed.
my estimates, I've got a conservative estimate and a, you know, kind of a reach estimate, are significantly above their estimate.
So so with that being said, Barry, what year is this, 25? Do you think that we will be over 10,000 employments in the 25 year?
It's gonna be, it's tough to get there because we have to do 40% growth over the last year. And last year includes Contours October, November, December. So we kind of already seen kind of the natural uptick they bring for 3 months. My projections are for July and August will be 50 to 60% up. Year to date, so the first 4 months, we've been up 30%.
What are we at for employments to date?
The first quarter is
Always low.
10% of the year, so it, you know, so we're currently 10% behind, but it's off of a small number. It's really gonna be kind of the shoulder around July and August. Can they build upon successful October, November, December of last year? My conservative projection is 9,000. And actually, my hope would be that we get 9,999, because having a new manager come in and then transitioning to being a primary airport at the same time and incurring a bunch more responsibility That's a lot to ask.
So-
I don't think we'll get 10,000 this year, but it's possible.
Well, what really was at the heart of my question with that is the additional responsibility, and as we budget next month, because that budget will be.
Yep.
You know, if we don't hit 10,000 in the 25 year, chances are, if we have continued success, we'll be there in the
Well-
26 year. And what do we?
There is a year delay in this.
Okay.
So the employments are done on a calendar year basis,
Uh-huh.
and the ramifications of that take effect the next fiscal year starting October. So 2025 will impact fiscal year 26. So for the fiscal year 27, actually. So for the fiscal year 26, starting this October, it will be based on last year's
Okay.
numbers.
All right, so there isn't
There will be at least 1 year of
transition,
Transition,
preparation time.
status quo.
Okay. All right.
if we get 10,000 this year, the following year.
I just didn't know if there was some reporting that we would have to pay a consultant to assist with that should be put in our budget because we had become a primary airport. I didn't know how quick. Okay,
No.
great, thanks. I understand. Just didn't want to miss it. Okay,
I don't have any other comments.
no comments from me. Okay, well, I won't delay an adjournment. Thank you.
Thanks.